And welcome back to the Godless Rebelution for another week of heathenistic talking.
Little podcast universe.
Hey.
Hi, everybody.
And we just kind of want to let everybody know out there in podcast world and Facebook world that we do have a Facebook. And you can look it up on Facebook.
We do have a Facebook, and you can look it up on the Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Godless Rebelution has a page that we will be adding more content to very soon. You can find us on Facebook at just do a search for the Godless Rebelution.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find our page out there. You can also find me on Facebook at Dan Ellis by doing a search for me. Finding a guy with a beard. Actually, I think right now my profile picture is a really creepy fucking turkey.
Yeah, it's a turkey with like lips.
With lips
coming
and
out
teeth,
of I think the lips are coming out of the wrong end.
Yeah. Well, it kind of looks like the alien.
Is it the wrong end? I think that's the only end a turkey
What are
has
those called?
lips.
The xenomorphs or something?
True.
But yeah, you can find us on Facebook. You can send us an email at thegodlessrebelution@gmail.com. Is it the Godless Rebelution?
It is GodlessRebelution at Gmail.
So just godlessrebelution@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of the show. Send us in any questions, any topics you'd like us to talk about. If you want to be a guest, sell yourself. Tell us why you want to be on the show. What do you want to talk about?
Also, we'd be happy to promote any appropriate questions that we receive via that email account.
Yeah, absolutely.
We like content, so give us some stuff to fuck around with.
Yeah, wait
Or
till
just talk
Lento.
about. I don't know.
Or to talk around. If you have a real doll, that's.
Did you say a real doll?
A real doll.
Have you not
I've
seen the
heard
real
about
doll? Yeah.
I've heard about those. I mean, I saw something like over in Japan where dudes can't get chicks because they're like 1 in 10.
Well, and now I'm thinking, would anybody really want a used real doll?
Yeah. No.
I mean, bleach is like what, $8
Wait,
a gallon?
I don't think it's that much, man.
just
Well, good bleach.
Like $2.
We want the good bleach.
bleach is what, like $40 a gallon? That's
It's like 10 times the price of gas.
I guess we buy government bleach.
you've been cleaning with government bleach too long.
DI bleach.
Yeah. So tonight we'll be talking about the Kalam Cosmological Argument. One of the favorites of the religious apologist group. William Lane Craig in particular loves this argument.
His bread and butter is Kalam.
It's his go-to. And it sounds nice. It almost sounds plausible when he initially talks about it until you break it down because the initial Kalam argument is pretty short, sweet, and to the point. He adds a bunch of shit into it.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he adds a lot of stuff into it. A lot of it just to take time, a lot of it to make it sound
Sciencey?
better, more sciencey.
And more philosophical.
I mean,
That is his major.
essentially that's all it is.
Well, true, but he adds an awful lot of I mean, when you said he adds sciencey stuff,
Well, I mean,
mostly
stuff that
philosophical.
sounds sciencey. I mean, the fucking Ghostbusters sounds scienccy, but
Yeah.
we know Egon ain't making no packs.
right? Well, yeah, and proton packs don't do that.
I mean, you seen one?
Yeah.
Oh man, I want one.
That was sexy, Matt, talking.
But anyway, but back to Bill Craig though. Honestly, his argument on Kalam took me the longest to break down out of I think any of the prominent apologists out there. Including Dinesh D'Souza and a number of others.
Well, and a lot of that is just because his argument is so long.
It's very convoluted.
He kind of goes on a gish gallop every fucking time he presents it.
Absolutely, yeah.
He throws so much shit at you that there's no way for you to go through point by point and pick it apart and go, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and this is why. It's it's just tons of terrible information.
Right. Well, and the other thing is, like we were talking pre-show, he debated very prominent atheists like Christopher Hitchens and Sam Harris, who did very little in these particular debates to actually address the points that William Lane Craig was putting forward.
Yeah, I was actually that was probably the one debate that I've seen Hitchens in where I was kind of disappointed.
Yep, me too. He still made great I wouldn't say counterpoints, but Hitchens still made great points, but they were the same ones he's done all the time. But he didn't address anything that William Lane Craig was saying. And
it was almost like he was unprepared for the debate. Like he just went
it was a little odd.
Cocksure and knew that he was going to win and it would be a slam dunk. And, I didn't have anything prepared or didn't know what Craig's argument would be.
I haven't seen this particular debate, but I wonder if it was just going, well, I know what William Lane Craig's going to say, and he's going to try to fill up my time with trying to answer his stuff. Instead, I want to get my shit out. So fuck him. I'm going to say whatever I want right now because I'm not even going to acknowledge that.
It could be, but even when he was speaking, even when he was addressing Craig's points, a lot of the things he said just didn't quite hit the mark.
Yeah, and he still went into the Mother Teresa stuff and all this other kind of, which doesn't really pertain to William Lane Craig at all anyway. He was a Protestant. And
it seemed like he was just trying to...
basic sort of...
Yeah, it seemed like he was just trying to fill time because he wasn't very prepared or something.
Right. And so if you want to hear a really the best rebuttal to William Lane Craig's Kalam argument, it's going to be here tonight. But then there's also Austin Dacey does a great job, and Shelley Kagan does a really great job.
Neither of whom have I heard of before, so I'm going to be sure to check those out.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
You say Shelley Kagan?
Shelley Kagan.
I think I've heard that name sounds familiar.
He's a philosophy teacher at Yale.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we don't have a whole lot of content out on the Godless Rebelution page right now. Once Ryan and I are added on there as admins, we'll start posting more things up there. I'll start posting links to a lot of the things that we talk about.
And the reason they're not is because I started the page and I'm a total idiot. That's the only reason.
You're not a total idiot. You're just not on the Facebook like me, the Facebook addict.
Okay. Well, and all the more reason to have you added. Yeah. Well, shall we?
Yeah. I mean,
do you want to hit some news first, and then we'll
get into William
Lane
address
Craig. What news stuff in a little bit.
I don't have that one I was talking about earlier up right now, but I will find it. Do you have anything right off the bat, Matt?
I have my notes from Halloween.
Okay.
Your notes from Halloween?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
That's all I have in my folder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought I put a news article in here from last week that we didn't cover, and it's the
there's one I know. Well, we'll get to the other one here in a little bit once I find it. But it's been in the news It's been on Fox News quite a bit lately.
Yeah,
which I guess is
faux news,
a type of news. Yeah. But it was about the school in. We didn't talk about this last week, did we? Did we mention it a little bit?
I don't know. All you said is the school.
Yeah, go ahead and start it.
Where the school had the Muslim community there wanted to have one of their holidays added on in December. So instead of adding that holiday to the calendar, they took all the holidays off the calendar, including Christmas, Yom Kippur. All the holidays got taken off. All the Christian and Jewish holidays.
You mean like even just listing it on the calendar, not actually doing anything for it, but just saying this, on this date, this holiday is celebrated in certain parts of the world?
Yes, they removed them.
Well, I must say
from the school calendar,
how fascinatingly ironic that is. That this is the move that atheists have been calling for, that we don't celebrate publicly any religious holiday and let that be done privately all around the world, country, whatever. Well, that's fine, but let's not segregate based on specific religious holidays. And now, like we've seen before, the Christians are up in arms about anything else, wanting to have their own time, and they erase the whole thing off the map. Well, we've been saying that for, I don't know, centuries.
And that's been the big thing about it, is everybody's arguing right now saying, oh, this is, a Christian nation. We need to keep these holidays in there. How dare they do that? We're Christians. We celebrate Christmas. And it's.
That's like Kirk Cameron saying that Christmas started with Christianity.
Yeah.
That it began as a Christian holiday.
That's not even worth bringing up because that guy's so fucking stupid. It doesn't,
but he's saving Christmas. He made a movie about it.
Sure. Yeah.
And I got asked the other day again, well, if you're an atheist, why do you celebrate Christmas? I'm like, I don't celebrate Christmas. I celebrate the winter holidays with my family because you know what? Honestly, the only time I've been around to celebrate the holiday that happens to take place when you celebrate Christmas, I've only celebrated like 3 times in the past 10 years because I don't celebrate it unless I'm around family. It's about family to me, not about...
Mm-hmm. And P.S., what makes this a Christian nation?
They say it is.
Yeah, they
That's
say it is, but what makes it? I mean, it's not the founding fathers. We've discussed that before.
Yeah.
And if you want to
Well, they try to say that the founding fathers are what made it a Christian nation, but that's bullshit.
Yeah, but it's well documented that that's not the case. Like me, for instance, my family first came over. The earliest roots that I have in this country is 1617.
Yeah,
and I'm not a Christian.
Yeah.
Does that make me not an American?
I don't know.
My family's like 3 years before the Mayflower.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so what do you? I mean, unless you're a Native American, you have no reason to talk to me at all about that.
About being
being
a citizen.
Yeah.
yeah.
And if you are, I have no argument. If you are a Native American, I
guess my big thing too is I'm not Hispanic or Mexican, but I will still celebrate Cinco de Mayo by drinking some Mexican
Patrick
beer.
Duffy is not Hispanic.
No, but I will still.
I'll bet you celebrate the fuck out of St. Patrick's Day.
Fuck yeah,
shit, dude. A Cinco de Mayo too, man. That's a great holiday.
I mean, any holiday where you can get. I mean, that's what Christmas is. It's a holiday where you get drunk, isn't it?
It's a holiday here in America because we've chosen to make it a holiday just so that we can drink tequila and beer and get shit faced. But I mean, it's not really celebrated that much in Mexico.
No.
Well, sure, but
either is St. Patrick's Day celebrated the same way there than we do here. It's
not in Ireland, no.
Like you
every day is St. Patrick's Day in Ireland.
I can't remember what it was about St. Patrick's Day. Like you do know what this holiday is about, and we really don't like it.
Well, the same with Valentine's. We should do a podcast on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We will as it comes up.
I mean,
you know what's great about Valentine's Day is it's one of the few holidays that started out as a purely religious holiday that basically has absolutely no connection to religion anymore whatsoever, other than that sometimes people call it Saint Valentine's Day.
Yeah, so unlike Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no connection to its roots whatsoever.
Yeah, so that's been going on there at that school, and I mean, I've been seeing a lot of people talking. It's the big news on Fox because it's getting towards the beginning of the war on Christmas. It has started.
Oh God!
So you guys heard that the Catholic Church is using the religious freedom argument to not even have to go to court, right?
I did hear that.
Did you see that article?
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. So in Mother Jones on the 17th, they published an article. Says when Emily Herx first took time off work for in vitro fertilization treatment, her boss offered what sounded like words of support. Quote, "You're in my prayers," end quote. Soon those words took on a more sinister meaning. The Indiana grade school where Herx was teaching English was Catholic, and after church officials were alerted that Herx was undergoing IVF, making her, in the words of one Monsignor, a grave immoral sinner, it took them less than 2 weeks to fire her. She since filed a discrimination lawsuit against the Catholic Church and the school for firing her because of this, and the Catholic Church has since said that they won't even bother going to court because it's within their religious rights not to have to do so.
Yeah.
This is IVF, not birth control, not abortion.
Yeah, just for in vitro fertilization.
Wow.
She could still be a virgin.
This is a whole another level of ridiculousness for the backwardsness that's not even a word, but I just made it up, and for women's rights in this country.
Yeah.
Well, this is ridiculous.
And until I read this, I hadn't
I'd heard about
I hadn't
this
made
case.
the connection that the Catholic Church would be that upset about it, but
sure.
The more I thought about it, I thought, they're opposed to it, certainly on religious grounds, but because
wait, why? No, go. All right, go ahead.
But because unless she has a penis inside her that shoots semen up into her vagina, then it's basically kind of immaculate conception. She's not having sex with the penis in her.
Is that what they've said? I mean, of course they're not going to say that publicly, but I mean,
no, that was just something that occurred to me. Like, is that their argument?
That's a very interesting
wasn't
point.
married.
Yeah, I'd like to, I mean, of course, they're not going to make a public statement about that specifically, but there's that, and then why on religious grounds would they object to this?
Yeah, well, and that was the one thing that I could come up with. I haven't
honestly
done any research to find out exactly why.
So
She's
they haven't
an unwed
said.
mother.
No. Well, they may have, but I didn't.
Is she unwed?
I didn't.
Yeah,
see
she's not married. She's a single woman.
There you go.
She's an unwed
there you
mother. She's single. That's why she went through and had in vitro fertilization. She's not married. She's single.
There it is.
That's the reason why I think they're going after her. I remember when this story broke about almost over a year ago. I remember reading. I'm like, she wants to have a kid.
Yeah,
she's not sleeping around with a bunch of men. That wasn't an accident. This was a planned child. But apparently, their sex outside of marriage in their school is wrong.
Is she good at her job?
Well, I hope so.
I would imagine so. They didn't fire her for any. They didn't fire her for performance.
Sure. Well, then that to me seems like discriminative for sure.
Yeah.
And the United States legal system should look at that and say, "Yep, we can't do anything based on religious reasons." So, if it wasn't a performance-based release, then fuck you.
Yeah. So the article continues to say that Herx filed a discrimination lawsuit in 2012. In response, St. Vincent de Paul School and the Fort Wayne South Bend Diocese, her former employers, countered with an argument used by a growing number of religious groups to justify firings related to IVF treatment or pregnancies outside of marriage. So yeah, that must be it.
Yeah,
and that's right outside of Notre Dame too.
Yeah, and their argument is basically that freedom of religion gives them the right to hire or fire whomever they choose. But in this case, the diocese took one big step further, and it is arguing that its religious liberty rights protect the school from even having to go to court at all.
Which is bullshit.
Yeah. Basically, they've given themselves a blank check to say, we can do whatever the fuck we want.
Yep.
We don't have to go to court for anything that we do that may fall outside of any legal precedent that has been set, because we have this one legal precedent to point to and say, no, we're just practicing our religious freedom.
Yeah. Well,
and it's basically saying we don't have to follow any laws.
Yeah.
We're exempt from any law you put forth unless it's a biblical law.
We're religious. We don't have to follow your laws. Yeah. We follow God's law.
Are any of them going to show up for courts where they're being prosecuted for raping our kids every week, everybody? Every week. Well, figure it out.
Well, I mean, the Catholic Church has shuffled bishops and cardinals and priests all around who either participated in or knew about and hid the offenders, that they can't face prosecution.
Look, the only precedent, the only legal precedent that there is in this is that the Catholic Church does not have to face prosecution for major offenses and crimes.
Yeah,
that's what they're banking on. Look, we want to fire a teacher for getting in vitro fertilization outside of marriage,
right?
What are they worried about? When half of their priests have not been prosecuted for raping kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course there's no problem there.
As I showed Matt.
I stuttered a little bit because I was trying to read at the same time while Ryan was showing me something there.
Ryan's throwing you off track.
I was making memes the other day, and Tamel told me to make some Mormon memes.
All right. Well, I didn't fully read it because I realized not bad.
So it's a picture of Joseph Smith with a crowd of people. There's a light shining down on Joseph Smith, and the people are cowering, and it says, Joseph Smith, breaking up families since 1830.
Then there was the first one I showed Matt, which might be a little more.
I declined to read because I was in the middle of...
Oh, that says wrapping your daughter's...
Yes, it does. I spelled it wrong. There's no spell check on there.
Yeah,
Mormons wrapping your daughters.
Well, yeah,
not wrapping like safe sex.
Yeah,
not that kind of.
I can. Wait, I'll have to go back and tell. But yeah, fuck you. Autocorrect.
He's a good rapist, yo.
Yeah. You get the point.
We should make a meme that says "ludicrousing your daughters."
That's ludicrous. So yeah, the Catholic Church is basically just saying, "Fuck it, we can do what we want."
Yep. Well, that's what they've always done.
I do what I want.
That's what they've always done.
Fucked.
Yeah. They've always done that.
And is it incorrect to say that Hobby Lobby is the one that kind of broke the water gates?
Well, that's what the
justification they're using for it.
That is the precedent for them saying, no, we don't have to do that because that violates our right to religious freedom.
Yep, which goes back to my rant.
Oh, we all agreed that this was going to open up a floodgate.
No, but I'm just saying it goes back to my rant about the justices, being so one-sided.
I've wondered why
all Catholics.
I mean, this same religious freedom argument.
Not all, but most.
Almost every state now recognizes the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster and Pastafarianism as an actual religion now, right? part of that religion is that every Friday is a holiday.
So we get every Friday off?
So, yeah, I mean, should I just not go into work every Friday and expect to be paid for it because that's my religious freedom? Yeah. Fucking A, we need to create a religion that says nobody has to work for anything and they just get paid for it.
Yeah, and then the employers have to, yeah. Where do you draw the line on this stuff?
Yeah,
and with
it's fucking ridiculous.
I might have said it before, but as far as church goes, why do they celebrate it on Sunday? Why do they go to church on the first day of the week?
It depends on which religion you're talking about.
Yeah,
Jews don't celebrate it on Sunday.
No,
neither do
but like
Seventh-day
Christians.
Adventists.
Yeah,
I know, because it's Sunday's the first day.
Yeah,
Saturday's the seventh day.
Right.
So if God rested, he rested on a fucking Saturday, not a Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know why God needs
Maybe
to
we
rest
just
anyway.
switched the calendar around. Maybe Monday was originally the first day.
Well, I thought this is all based off of Jesus dying and shit.
Yeah, which is the Gregorian. Yeah, but why does God need to rest in the first place?
I know.
And why would it take him 7 days if he's all powerful?
Exactly.
Or 6 days?
And
Or 5 days? Or more than a fucking blink of an eye?
And they say the Big Bang is fucking stupid.
I know.
Your all-powerful God took 6 days to create a universe.
Yeah. All that means is I don't understand it.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Yeah, well, and I think, we've allowed the term Big Bang to perpetuate and flourish for so long that it's hard to get religious people to understand that we're not talking about a fucking explosion.
Mm-hmm.
There was no explosion that started. Big Bang was coined as a term that...
Yeah, it was intended to make fun of it.
Yeah, it was intended to make fun of it. Like, oh, sure, there was just this Big Bang and everything...
Like global warming.
Everything came into existence.
Right.
And now... everybody uses it as the colloquial term referring to the initial expansion of the universe.
That's what I was going to say. Should we call it the Great Expansion versus the Big Bang?
I don't know what the preferred scientific name is, actually.
I don't mind Big Bang.
I don't mind it either, but
because everyone knows what that means,
Yeah.
and if you choose to not accept it, then you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I think we just need to be sure that we explain to people who say, "Well, you can't. You're not going to get a car out of an explosion. That doesn't happen." Well, we're not talking about an explosion, dumbass. The same way that we're not talking about fucking. Never mind. I lost my train of thought.
Wow.
But it's a theory. When we say theory, we're not referring to we're not referring to the layman's term of a theory.
Yeah.
We're talking about the scientific usage of the word theory. When we say Big Bang, that it's kind of flipped on its head the other way, where that's the colloquial term that everybody knows is what we're talking about when we talk about the initial expansion of the universe.
And it's not saying there was nothing. Something came from nothing is not what people say either.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know what the best way to put it. Because we don't know what was there. Like there had to be. Obviously, there was some sort of matter, and it released. And I guess my not scientific-y brain always kind of thinks of it as like, well, I always say yo-yo. There's an actual name for it. The universe, it fluxes out and then it kind of pulls back and it creates and destroys itself.
That's the big crunch idea.
Well, and currently, I mean, we can only point back to the beginning of the timeline, right? Which was the initial inflation or the Big Bang. We can't, we can come up with a bunch of different hypotheses to say, prior to the Big Bang, these types of things were out there, or multiverse theory, or a million other different things that we could talk about. But the Christians try to use the Kalam Cosmological Argument and various other arguments to say, well, there was nothing, and then all of a sudden there's something, and so something had to create that. No, it didn't have to fucking create it. Why do you even have to jump to that conclusion? Why do you have to say that it had to have done that? That's something you're just assuming.
Yeah, exactly. It's a jump because we don't even know enough to ask the appropriate questions for the singularity of the universe.
Right, and to explain it away with, well, God did it. That's just another God of the gaps theory. It's just that the gaps that God fills now are getting smaller and smaller and smaller as we become more and more intelligent and learn more about the universe where we find ourselves.
I guess my way of thinking when I talk like say the yo-yo or the crunch theory, I think of you got black holes. Black holes suck in other matter around it, and it's a hugely giant condensed super heavy mass. Mm-hmm. Eventually, when stars die, if they go supernova or whatever it is, and they turn
supermassive black hole.
Then they turn into a black hole. They start sucking everything in around it. Eventually, every star in the universe will die, and it will be sucked into something. And if you get two black holes next to each other, they're going to suck each other in, and eventually all are going to come back.
Of a black hole?
Well, that's the thing is, it's not actually a hole.
and it's not actually sucking, and not every
it's just attracting. It's gravity.
Right, and not every star will be affected by that. But the point
every
is,
star will die.
Going back to my earlier thing, a lot of terms in the scientific community, to use a Ryan term, are a little clunky, and that's why I like Big Bang. Everyone knows what it means right away. They know exactly the event.
Well, they know what you're referring to. They don't know what it means.
Well,
necessarily.
all right, fair enough. But just like the word atheist, it's the same thing for me. Like a lot of people shy away from that. Well, or I don't know.
When it comes down to it,
I'm a non-believer. I'm agnostic.
You say all this other stuff, and then
I'm a humanist.
They ask all these other questions, and they're like, "Oh, so you're an atheist?" Well, yeah.
When that answers the question that they were basically asking in the first place.
Yes, exactly. So the only correction I would make, and this applies to evolution as well. So you believe in the Big Bang? No, I accept it.
Yeah.
Do you? Oh, so you believe in evolution? Nope.
I accept it as the most plausible answer currently demonstrated to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I accept evolution as a scientific principle. Yeah, sure.
But I like to think with the black hole thing, though, that what's to say that hypothetically, that all black holes, once everything starts dying, the universe is pretty much dead, the black holes will all kind of basically be stuck to each other and attracting, and you get a giant supermass of all the dead particles in the universe, and it just releases again.
Yeah. Yo-yo.
I don't even know.
I
don't even know how to comment on that.
Yeah, well, and at the same time, I mean, that kind of brings us to the point of saying, okay, sure, that maybe that's possible. I don't know. I haven't gone out and tested it. We don't know for sure. But you have to make a huge fucking leap to say, I don't know, versus God did it. I mean, what evidence do you have to support your notion that God did it? You don't have anything. That's something that plays into your preconceived notion and your own confirmation bias.
I'll prove it to you.
That's what you believe. That's what you want to believe. Obviously, then God did it.
I'll prove it to you right now, Dan.
Okay.
I had a friend.
Okay.
Was he in a class?
And he was really struggling with his science class.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
When they were talking about evolution.
Yeah.
And I told him, just take out your Book of Mormon.
Okay.
And open it to any page.
Yeah.
And start reading.
Okay.
And that will give you your answer.
Oh, shit, it worked.
Any page at all?
Wow.
Any page at all.
I'm amazed.
Even like the opening?
Wow. What about the credits?
Well, and what about like back when it said that it was written and published by Joseph Smith versus translated?
And that will be all the proof you need.
I'm on this page right now where it tells me I must. I'm on this page right now where it tells me I must take 100 wives.
Do you have a burning in your bosom?
No, but I think Joseph Smith was trying to molest me.
But that's the proof they use. That's the quote proof that they use for.
If you pray about it and you get a good feeling, that means it's true.
Yeah.
All the answers are in the Bible.
Oh yeah, is that how you decide other things? Like that's how you come up with the answer to any math question that you have on a quiz? You pray about it and you have a list of answers, and whichever one gives you a warm and fuzzy feeling obviously is the one that's fucking true.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's stupid.
It is fucking stupid.
Dumb.
I was listening to a talk.
Is Dan going to rant before me tonight?
I only listened. It was like an hour long. I can only make it through the first maybe 15 minutes of it. And I was like, this guy is fucking bonkers. And he's trying to explain why creationism is just as valid and more valid than
a pile of steaming horseshit.
Well, as evolution, I think is what he was going at. But he kept saying that all scientists start their science with a preconceived notion. Secularists don't have God to have, their
preconceived
beginning.
Notion?
Yeah, their beginning. Because we have God as our beginning. So, of course, we're going to come to this logical conclusion.
Mm-hmm. It's not logical.
That's not how you do science. You don't start with an end to get the end doesn't justify the means.
You can't start with the answer.
You start with a question. You don't start with the answer.
Right.
And that's what good science is. I have a question.
And
let's
you're willing
study
to be wrong.
Yeah. You want to be wrong. If you're wrong, you have to do more research.
You may not even have any kind of preconceived notion or conclusion in your mind in the first place. You just have a question. I want to know how this works.
You just say, why?
Yeah.
Why does this work the way this works? figure the mechanics out, go through it. Then
Yeah.
you get your answer. It's not
I've
saying,
done some initial research on it. I think maybe this might be an explanation. Let's fucking test it out and see if it is. If not, fuck, I'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah,
Whereas
whereas you have 100 people come after you and test everything you've done to make
yeah.
sure
Right.
whereas a creationist, you start with,
the
well,
answer.
God is the answer to all things. Now, why is he the answer to all things?
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah, how
having
do
their
I
answer come back to
backfill
God.
all of my knowledge to provide justification for the answer that I already
Yeah,
have?
and that's
Yes.
the reason why there's over 41,000 different Christian sects in the world, because every one of those leaders is absolutely right, and that's why there's one science.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's one science.
Yeah. Well, call them and ask them. Call science and ask them right now. There's
There
only
are,
one.
of course, several different scientific disciplines. You
Well,
have,
okay,
within.
it was-
But
I
there
think-
are not 41,000 separate
All right,
ones.
Dan
and they don't compete against each other to say no, you're wrong necessarily.
Dan
or
doesn't have a sense of
my
humor
answers are. I haven't had enough rum.
But at the same time, science's older brother is always trying to prove him wrong.
Yeah.
When science's older brother can't prove him wrong, science must be right.
Wait, who's...
Well,
Religion.
Science's other brother is another scientist. And he got young little brother's paper. He's like, well, I'm going to rip this to shreds. Well, I can prove that's wrong, and that's wrong, and that's
okay.
wrong.
Gotcha.
Do it again.
Gotcha.
As in peer-reviewed.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
You know,
That's what I wanted to
Christianity
clarify. Yeah.
Christianity has had more than 2,000 years to provide proof of its claims.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have failed on every fucking count consistently.
Well, here's
And
what's-
all of their claims for proof of God's existence become smaller and smaller and fewer
Yes.
consistently.
Well, let's reduce this exponentially. Let's go from year 0 of the Gregorian, right? Now we're at let's go to year 20 instead of year
Okay.
2000.
Christianity still doesn't exist.
Okay? They still
Have not written a
have
Bible.
a problem proving any of the accounts written according to the Gospels or anything that claim to be eyewitness accounts of Jesus. Nothing.
Well, at that
Even
time,
20 years.
you're-
Forget
you're-
about
you're-
2000.
year
Yeah.
20,
They-
Christianity wasn't like... Jesus
Dude,
was
it
born
was-
a Jew and die a Jew. He didn't die a Christian.
Yeah, and it's night and day different between the year 20 AD or CE and 2,000 years later. Christianity is nothing like, which is why I always find it funny that Christians tend to be Republicans, because it's so un-Jesus-like.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
so un-Jesus-like.
Oh, yeah.
Republicanism is so un-Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I must
such
have
a
missed the part in the
bizarre-
Bible where it said, support the richest king in the land and make sure that rich king gets richer
Gets
by
richer and the poor get
and
poorer.
Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, true.
Well, I mean, I think that was about law, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it wasn't render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and fuck everybody else.
No.
Well, right.
It was render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and have kindness and compassion for your fellow human beings. He who is without sin cast the first stone. All of
Yeah.
that shit that they try to paint Jesus as this fluffy guy.
I guess what I meant to say was the picture they try to paint of Jesus, but then they go out Monday through Friday and do completely the opposite of that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're not thinking about the holy hobo at all during those 5 days. It's only on Sunday when they're like, "Oh yeah, I paid my tithing," you know, and all. And
I
all
did
that.
my part. I paid my tithing and went and sat in church and fucking fell asleep.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all I've got to do, right?
Yep.
Then I get into heaven and get a mansion and all the wives that I want in the celestial kingdom.
Right.
Whether my current wife likes that or not, she'll just have
Exactly.
to deal with it.
Yeah, and I told
And
you.
she'd better be good to me in this life, because if she's not, then I won't call her to me in the celestial kingdom,
Yeah,
and
and
she'll
I-
have to hang
I-
out with all of the other assholes in the smaller
I
kingdoms.
told you about my friend who actually voiced those opinions. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said that last week.
Yeah, which is fucked.
Yeah.
Woman, you better be good to me now, or I ain't gonna call you to me in the celestial kingdom.
Yeah.
You see them dishes you didn't do? You ain't going to no celestial kingdoms.
Where's my dinner? Mama?
Mm-hmm.
Bring it to me now.
I want some apple pie. Matt's got a pee.
So, yeah, it's all bullshit. And the LDS Church in particular is tons of bullshit. You know what's really fun for me is when LDS people make fun of other religions. Like you know, your religion is like the laughing stock
Oh, yeah.
of almost every other religion. Maybe Scientology is a little bit more weird. Maybe the Raelians are a little bit more weird.
If it wasn't for the alien, Scientology and Mormonism might be really fucking...
Well, and especially living here in
Similar.
Utah, I think the LDS Church, at last count, according to them, was something like 30 million members strong or something like that.
Yeah, but they also count people who no longer attend. If you are baptized and are still living, you're part of the church.
Yeah. Yeah, and, sure, that sounds like a whole lot of people. When you compare that to the broader Christian community at large, at billions of people, or the Muslim community at large of billions of fucking people.
Yeah, I was actually reading something on Reddit the other day. Where
You are part of a tiny little sect. You're the ass of a gnat.
There was actually a guy on Reddit the other day, and there's like a Mormon meme or something about Mormons. And the guy on there was saying, no, you guys, really, what is a Mormon? Like, I have no clue. I've never heard of them before. And that's what I tell people here. I'm like, do you realize before I came to Utah, I had no fucking clue you people were real.
I thought you were like unicorns.
Yeah, I thought Mormons...
Really fucking creepy and weird unicorns that wear funny underwear.
I thought you non-R-rated teetotalers were a myth.
But that's funny because here in Utah, because there is such a high concentration of Mormons...
They think the rest of the world bows to them.
Oh, yeah, they think everybody's Mormon.
Yeah.
If you're born and raised here as a true believing Mormon, you think the whole fucking rest of the world is Mormon, obviously.
Yeah.
Everybody I know is Mormon. Isn't that the way it is in the whole rest of the world?
And that's why people in the state don't leave it, because they leave it and they're like, oh, fuck.
This kind of sucks out here in the real world.
There's a documentary coming out, and I can't remember the name. I wish I knew the name of it right now, but it's a prominent evangelical preacher from the U.S. that travels abroad, and he's over in like Denmark and stuff, and he's talking to them. And in one of the little excerpts they had from it, he was talking about gay marriage with them, and he's like, "They're like, oh no, we're okay with that. We don't hate it. We perform them here to these Christians, these pastors.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? It's fine.
Then
They're
he
good
was
people.
kinda-
They love each other. Why should we care?
Then the look on his face is like, oh
The horror.
what? Or just walking around the
I've
streets.
never heard anybody say that that's okay, and now
Yeah.
I'm really freaked out.
I'm confused.
Are you all Satanists? Seriously?
But when he walked around town, you go up to people and he's asking, are you, what religion are you? Like, I'm not. Are you fucking crazy, man, or what? And I guess he got back to the States and was just blown away at how the rest of the world is not Christian. And that's, I guess, what a big part of this documentary is about. It's not out yet. It was a little 2-minute preview for it, but...
And he was surprised by coming to the United States?
No, he was an American evangelical preacher, and he traveled abroad.
Oh, gotcha.
And he found out that the rest of the world does not believe in the same evangelical Christian values he does. Even when he goes to a place that has Christians, they don't fall in line with the evangelical Christian
Kind of like a
view.
Mormon leaving Utah for the first time?
That's why it came up.
So have you guys noticed that these new headphones kind of have a Batman look to them?
I was looking at that because it's got like the ears. Yeah, we all have headphones on now.
I was just looking over at Ryan. I was like, he kind of looks like Batman.
Maybe Adam West style.
They're the very small ears, yeah.
I had not that any of you fit this image really besides the headphones.
Oh boy, what's coming?
But when you see like the old 80s movies and you got that chick like jogging down the street and she's got her headphones on, they have the radio built into them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With the little,
With
I
the
remember
antenna.
those things that had the antenna sticking out.
Now I kind of
Those were
wish I did
badass.
fit that description.
But you don't.
I don't.
Yeah, those were badass. I remember those things.
Yeah.
You remember the big old fucking
Walkman tape cassette. I remember having it on my hip and mowing lawns. So I couldn't. And then when I got a CD player Walkman to put on my hip, the lawnmower vibration made the thing skip. So I had to go back to my tape.
I was going to say you get the tape and then you think you're a total badass when you get the CD Walkman until you try to fucking move around with it at all. And then you get the ones that would read ahead. Like, it would store like 30 seconds in memory.
Yeah, it's
so.
No, it was
like,
more
dude.
like 3 seconds.
I got an anti-shock one. I can put it in the car.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's so badass.
I can like walk swiftly with it.
But you still had to have the attachment that hooked into the cassette player so you'd go into your deck in your car.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what that actually caused me to crash one year in high school.
Trying to put
Well,
How many crashes have you been in?
None. I almost hit a guy today.
That caused me to crash.
in
How
one
many
on the
crashes
way
have you
to
been
here
in?
tonight?
Well, I crashed into a snowbank. I didn't hit
well-
a vehicle. I went up. I hit a snowbank.
Well, I've
Okay.
been in a crash before.
I've
that
never
almost
actually
totaled my car. I didn't hit
Yeah.
any other car. I
Yeah.
had a signpost.
Yeah.
I
remember
still was
that,
in an
yeah.
accident.
Yeah, but mine, like when I would, because it was in like my cigarette lighter. I can't remember how I had it rigged up, but if I had to turn my car off. When I turned my car off, it would turn off too. So I was coming out of the driveway. It's fucking cold as hell, and I was already late for school. Sister jumped in the car, and I'm pulling my little '87 Nissan Sentra out of the driveway, and I'm trying to shift into first gear without letting the engine stall because it's so cold. Well, it stalled. When I went to go restart the car, I restarted it, and then I reached down to turn the CD player back on. I moved the steering wheel to the left. I just, like in neutral, drifted right into the snowbank. And then I was late for school because I had to dig myself out. But it was my neighbor's snowbank, so it was literally I had to walk into my parents' garage, grab some shovels, and shovel out the car. And
Well, now you got the H3. No, you,
oh yeah,
you
I
can
got
just
the
drive
H3
over that.
I know. I got an Earth Destroyer now. I'm just gonna just
Well, didn't you say that it gets the same gas mileage or better than your old car, though?
It's I get about 17 miles to the gallon in it, but the thing with my old car,
That's better than I get in my car.
really,
I get about 16 in my car.
yeah, I get about 17 miles to the gallon. The thing with my other car was its towing capacity was 1,500 pounds. So when I would load that up with a bunch of gear and go up in the mountains, it was struggling. Like I'm in first and second gear, revving the shit out of that engine just to go up a hill.
Yeah.
Now I can load that thing up, and I've already taken it off road in the mountains a few times, and I'm planning on going up this weekend when it's snowing like crazy. I'm just taking it mudding.
Nice.
In the desert, just shooting as fast as I can go through it.
Nice.
So,
Well, good.
Should we hit Kalam?
oh yeah.
Should we hit it?
Let's hit Kalam.
Knock it the fuck out?
Are we going to play this?
You got knocked the fuck out.
Which one did we choose to play, and how long is this one then?
This
It's
one.
It's a little. Not even a 2-minute clip. I think on it's William Lane Craig's.
I'm going to grab a
Well,
basic.
this isn't even Craig's argument. This is basically just the Kalam argument, right?
Well, sure. This is Craig stating the Kalam cosmological argument, but this is Craig's bread and butter.
Yeah.
He adds a lot to it, sure, but
Yeah.
ultimately this is him breaking it down for us, and also
And making it more concise than the 10 or 15 fucking minute openings that he uses during his debates trying to explain his argument.
which are just convolutions. I mean,
Yeah.
none of it's any real substance anyway. So the argument that I've broken down for tonight is basically what he summarizes here.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Let me play this little clip for you.
Welcome to the 1 Minute Apologist. If you had 1 minute to be able to unpack for the audience, we interview the world's leading apologists to provide credible answers to curious questions.
Talk to us about the Kalam cosmological argument for the existence of God.
The Kalam cosmological argument is an argument that can be simply formulated. Premise one, whatever begins to exist has a cause. Things don't come into being from nothing. Two, the universe began to exist. There's good philosophical and scientific evidence that the universe is not eternal in the past, but had a beginning. And from that it follows, three, therefore, a cause of the universe exists. And then you do a conceptual analysis of what it is to be a cause of space and time, matter and energy. And I think you're able to show that a beginningless, uncaused, timeless, spaceless, immaterial, enormously powerful personal creator of the universe exists, which is the core concept of God.
So that's the Kalam cosmological.
That was
argument
William Lane
in a-
Craig breaking it down for us.
According to Bill,
in a nutshell.
according to Bill Craig.
Well,
All right.
and like I said, that's his
Bread and butter.
bread and butter, and that's
That's
his
his baby.
1 minute thing, which is basically the core of the Kalam argument, right?
That was Kalam.
Without the fluff he adds to it, like you talked about earlier.
He added a little bit of fluff to it, especially near the end. But yeah, that's Kalam right there. If you listen to Craig's debates, you know, like we've referenced earlier, he Hitchens, Harris, Dacey, Kagan. He goes into this quite extensively, but it'll last 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because he throws in
Because
a
he
lot of
adds
other bullshit.
so much other stuff, but all of that stuff completely unnecessary. So we're just going to break it down to its
And if you really want to listen to
5
it,
components.
you can type him in on YouTube, and you can find tons of debates he's done that are.
And I would
2
highly
hours long.
recommend listening to Shelley Kagan.
Is that me? Sorry.
Yeah, that was the phone picking that up. I turned it off now.
I would highly recommend listening to William Lane Craig debate Shelley Kagan and Austin Dacey. They both do a really great job.
Shelley Kagan and Austin Dacey.
Yep,
All right.
better I think than Hitchens and Harris do against Craig in on this particular.
Yeah, I would guess that it was better than Hitchens. Like I said, that was the one where I was disappointed in Hitchens' performance.
Was it near the end of the Hitchens?
Shelley Kagan and Austin
Dacey.
Dacey, Dacey.
Yep,
All right, I'll put up links to those.
and Kagan, Kagan.
Okay.
All right, so let's start at the first point.
So he basically mentioned 3 different points. You said that there are 5 in the
I got
classical
5.
Kalam argument.
Yeah, I've got 5 here.
So what are the 5 that you've got there?
Well, let's start with. You want to go through all 5, or do you want to start with?
Well, yeah,
number
let's
1?
let's hit all 5, and then we can go back and talk about them
All
individually.
right, so number one in Kalam is everything that begins to exist has a cause. Number 2, the universe has a beginning. Number 3, therefore the universe has a cause. Number 4, if the universe has a cause, then that cause is God. Number 5, therefore God exists.
Therefore, unicorns made it.
All right,
Number 1 again.
now
Are we going to talk them each individually? Or?
So yeah,
let's-
so number
yes.
1 is
let's do them individually. But I think any of our somewhat intelligent listeners at this point will be able to hear the various points broken down into 5 and say, well, that's fucking ridiculous, right? Without the convolutions of Bill Craig's arguments.
Yeah.
It's easy to hear when you hear the points 1 through 5 right in a row. There's obvious questions that come up. But let's start with number 1. Yeah, everything that begins to exist has a cause.
okay.
That's the first premise.
So basically, everything has a beginning.
Well, everything that exists has a
Has a
beginning. Yeah.
Right. Everything that begins. This is important. Everything that begins
Begins.
to exist.
Yes.
Has a cause.
And this point
Refute his.
No, this point right here, the fact that things begin to exist, differentiates Kalam from the other cosmological arguments, right? So that everything that begins to exist has a cause. So that's the first premise in Kalam.
Okay.
All right. First of all, this is simply posited.
Yeah, there's
I
no
mean, that's the obvious first thing.
there's no evidence provided other than, you can
it's
look
an
around
assertion.
you and think of it's an assertion, and you can think about, what can I think of that does not
Right.
have a cause that made it begin to exist.
Or how much information do we have on this particular subject? For instance, in the Middle Ages, raw meat and excrement that were left out used to gather flies,
Sure.
right? And so for a long time, it was thought that flies spontaneously came into existence among raw meat or old meat and excrement.
Yeah.
They didn't have any idea about flies and eggs and maggots and all that stuff.
I remember. Yeah, I
had no
remember
idea.
when I was a kid, somebody telling me that maggots just grow out of rotting things.
Right.
Like there's no fly
no
came and laid
implanting of
eggs or
an
anything
egg.
there. They've always been in there, and once it dies and starts to rot, the maggots
comes
come
out.
out. Yeah.
Okay. So this is just an assertion. So that's number 1. That's the very first premise of this argument. And already there's questions.
Sure.
Number 2 is the universe has a beginning.
How do you know that?
Obviously. How do we know that? How do we know that's the case?
Have we found the start point yet?
We can trace back to the Big Bang, but we don't know necessarily that was the beginning.
Yeah, we don't.
right?
We have no clue
Do
what
we?
came before that.
I mean, is that a conclusion that the scientific community has come to now? Is the beginning of the universe?
That's the beginning. That's the known. That's as far back as they can see. It's not saying it's beginning, but it's just as far back as they can see. Like we can draw evidence back to this point.
Right.
What's before that, we don't know.
Right.
Also, what do you mean by universe?
I mean, everything.
Well, I don't mean you, but I mean
As far as
William Lane
them?
Craig. William Lane Craig. I would
Our
ask him
solar
that.
system?
What do you mean by universe when you say that? What part of this that you're talking about, this that you're observing, has a beginning and has a cause. What do you I would ask him to define that. It's not clear. Right?
I would think of universe.
He's just positing things. He's just asserting.
Because if you say universe to me, it's the collection, the web of every single solar system strung together
over
throughout trillions of light
14
years.
billion years of the visible, what we call the visible universe.
What we can see, but there's more beyond what we can't see because we can't see it.
There you go. Okay, so what do you mean by that?
What's what I mean? It's everything.
No.
But me, but
I don't mean you, but I'm just saying.
I would.
But that's a question that might put him on his heels a little bit because he's already making an assumption that everyone's going to assume that what he means by universe is the same thing they're thinking.
Well, and that the universe that we know is all that exists.
That too, of course, that too. Or that's not a multiverse,
Right.
All right, point 3, the universe has a cause.
Again, that's just an assertion.
Sure, it's unknown, right? And that's almost the best we can say about that. It's unknown.
Yeah, we can trace it back to the initial expansion. We don't know what caused it. Or if there was a cause necessary.
Yep, and it doesn't make sense to ask anything prior to that Big Bang.
No. I mean...
So the cause, that's asking prior.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not even sensible.
Yeah.
Right? So there's already major problems, and we're halfway through this.
Yeah.
Right? Now, all the rest of this is convoluted with a whole bunch of other stuff that Bill will add as he goes along to make it sound... Bill, and he's a smart guy. He just gets it wrong on the God question.
He obviously the way
he should have been a lawyer.
He speaks very intelligibly.
He should have been a lawyer.
And intelligently. He uses multisyllabic words and makes it all sound flowery and somewhat scientific, and throws philosophy in there and some bits of science.
Yeah.
But the bulk of his argument is pure conjecture and blind assertions.
Yeah, I would say almost all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess bulk, yeah.
So
I agree.
Bulk might mean most of it.
It means a lot in cheaper quantity.
Yeah. So now it gets a little more interesting when we get to number 4. If the universe has a cause, right, and this is all according to the premises he's supposedly set up.
Yeah.
Right?
So if my prior statements are true, then.
Right, which is how logic works, but we've already destroyed that. But let's assume, all right, if the universe has a cause, then that cause is God.
Which is the hugest fucking leap.
Yeah.
If the universe exists, then it was caused by...
But this is where we come back to like I had brought up earlier, where it was they start with the answer and work
right
the opposite way you're supposed to.
Right.
Yeah. The universe came into being because of magic.
Yeah, we have a number of problems here. So this is A to C.
Yeah.
Right. With no B at all. Right. No B step whatsoever. Where does the God part come in to any of the premises leading up to this point? Right.
There's no scientific basis whatsoever for a God.
There's also no scientific basis, but he doesn't even pretend to try
to prove it,
to bring it in until this step.
Yeah.
Right. So now it's just a completely blind assertion. That's just the first problem with this step.
These premises that I've laid out before mean that a donkey show made it.
Right. So I've created a little flow chart here. And so
can I have you do something really quick though?
Sure.
Can you read the argument backwards from 5 to 1?
Well, we haven't gotten to 5.
We know what 5 is. I mean, it's the most fucked up one of them all.
All right. What's the point of, sure. Okay. Number 5, God exists. Number 4, if the universe has a cause, then that cause is God. Number 3, the universe has a cause. Number 2, the universe has a beginning. Number 1, everything that begins to exist has a cause.
That's how he wrote it originally, right there. That's the right order that he wrote it in.
That was his line of thinking, basically.
Yeah, okay. That's the order he wrote it in.
God exists. How do I work this back to show that God exists?
That God exists.
Gotcha.
That's where I was going with it.
All right.
Unicorns made the universe. How do I work backward to say that unicorns made the universe?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. But philosophically, though, because this is his angle, we'll just break this down partially. But so number 4, if the universe has a cause, then that cause is God, right? And we already talked about it being A to C. He's never mentioned God before. Also, I would ask, what caused God?
Well, exactly, and his argument is that God is
and spaceless.
Yeah, God
All
just
right,
has always existed.
Let me put you guys through my little flow chart here for this, okay?
God didn't begin to exist. God has always existed. Is his argument?
All right. So if God didn't begin to exist, then so God is infinite?
Yes.
All right.
According to him.
If-
In most Christianity.
Okay. So if yes, then if things can be infinite and uncaused, why not call it the universe? And what's the point in number 1 in saying that the universe, that everything begins to exist has a cause?
Well, the universe is here and is part of the natural world that we know and that we experience.
Because we have this thing called time. And time is a measurement which is not
And time
infinite.
is totally irrelevant to the question of God. God has
because
always existed.
God exists in all time. And,
Well, then-
in every time.
Right. So then when you go back to point number 1 and William Lane Craig talks about everything that begins to exist.
But God
Yes.
never began to
No.
exist. And God is the
God-
prime mover.
God always
has
was.
always existed.
High five.
Beginning doesn't even make sense if you're talking about timeless and spaceless, which he did mention in the introduction.
He
Right.
did. And
So
I
when
think
you
that's why he
talk about-
says begins. Everything that begins. But
that's
that's saying God does not.
Okay,
in
but-
his mindset or his the way he does it, God has no beginning.
Right.
So therefore,
God
if
is
it has no
spaceless,
beginning,
yeah, God is
it doesn't need a
spaceless.
creator.
Yeah, he's spaceless, timeless, immaterial.
Okay, well then if God doesn't need a cause, that's a special pleading fallacy.
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Okay, so you're either stuck with the fact that you're using in your first premise, everything that begins to exist has a cause. You're stuck with begins, which is a timestamp
Yes.
statement.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
stuck with that. Or you're going to say that this is timeless and doesn't need a cause, which negates your first premise, and that is a special pleading fallacy. So
yes,
right there in
he
the
is saying God is special.
Yeah,
he has his own
saying
set
God,
of rules.
Yeah, God exists outside of everything else that we know in the natural world and universe.
That is not included in any step of this argument whatsoever.
Because it's special pleading.
It's special
And that's
pleading.
why
and
he
it's-
has to throw it into the third premise.
and it's simply asserted.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why they describe God as something that is literally undefinable.
Well, it is undefinable because it's undefinable.
Because it's not real, but the characteristics they give it as something that you
Right.
cannot scientifically have. It's that's why I said it's a
no-
special.
It's no different
pleading,
than
yeah.
Sagan's invisible dragon
Yes,
in the garage.
exactly.
Exactly. Right. Or Russell's teapot.
Right.
Yep. All the same stuff.
Yeah, it is absolutely special pleading because there's no evidence that would point to a God. I mean, that's
Special
the
pleading at
conclusion.
best.
That's the conclusion that he has, and he's justifying that conclusion.
Well, his conclusion would be God exists,
Yeah.
which has problems in itself. Even if you accept 1 through 4, he still gets to number 5, which is God exists, and does not still get to the Protestant God that he believes in.
Well, and especially when he says whatever
Nothing
exists.
at all.
If he says whatever exists, right? Whatever begins to exist has a cause, and then he says that God exists.
Yes. So he has to have had a
So
cause.
he needs to work on his phrasing there. I mean, if nothing else,
and that's-
because he says whatever exists, whatever begins to exist,
Well, right. And this
has to have a cause.
And this is why you'll see in step 5 it does not say God begins to exist.
It just says
but
God
It just says
exists.
God exists.
But in step 1 it says everything that begins to exist.
Right, he had to throw in that special bit of
Well,
begins.
that's what differentiates Kalam from the traditional cosmological argument. They added this point here, begins, to differentiate because that was a major hole. That was a big problem for them. So when they added this, then it became an issue, and now William Lane Craig has added steps all throughout these 1 through 5.
Right, he's
to make-
expanded
to make-
on all
yeah,
of them.
Yeah, to make it more convoluted, more confusing, more intricate.
Yeah.
but to make it sound
and-
more convincing while
and
he's
it
doing
does, and I'll tell you what, it fucking works.
it. Yeah, it
because-
absolutely does. When he's up there and he's talking about it, I'm like, this dude knows his shit. He's really thought about this.
This guy took me a long time,
Yeah.
more than any of the other apologists for sure, to figure out exactly what was going on.
I just had a thought that passed through my head really quick about the whole timeless thing. I don't think it's timeless is impossible. Time is measured against something else, right?
Something that has always existed, Ryan.
Well, not that, but our time, a day on Mars, which is a measurement, is different than a day on Earth, which is another measurement, because we revolve around the sun, everything at a different pace.
Right.
So there is a time. Their time is something measured against something else. Like, how many times does this happen? That's how you measure a time.
And that's why the Earth can be 6,000 years old, because we don't know what God's time frame is.
Well, but what if we've been?
I've had that.
What if we've been rotating for billions of years?
Well, yeah, I'm saying these are the arguments that they throw out.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying when you say God is timeless, I'm like nothing can be timeless. It's just what you measure it against.
It's measured on a different scale.
But there's still a time.
Sure. Yeah.
There has to be a scale to it. Even if there's only one planet, I mean, there's still.
Well, yeah, it's just a different scale.
Yeah.
So like you said, a day on Earth is different than a day on Mars. It's different than a day on Jupiter, Pluto.
So to say something
Pluto's
is timeless,
not a planet anymore. So
to say something that's timeless is what
Pluto
I'd
was
say
never
is
a planet. But
love is timeless.
they're trying to bring it back,
and a diamond is forever.
Every kiss begins with K.
So what's interesting though is like talking about time is like if you were to go to Mercury, right? The revolution and rotation are the exact same. Right.
This time around, the revolution will not be televised.
Exactly. So,
that's some NWA or Public Enemy creeping into my head.
Oh, and it's the same with the moon and the Earth, right? They're tidally locked. So
yes.
So Mercury. Actually, that's not the case with Mercury. Sorry, I misspoke. But Mercury's year is actually slightly faster than its day. Yeah, think about it for a second. This you're talking about time. This will fuck you up if you
because of the rotation of the planet.
It rotates slower
versus
than it goes
orbit
it goes
around the sun.
Its orbit around the sun is faster than its actual rotation. So the same side of Mercury is always facing the sun, which is why you get like 987 degrees on the sun side and minus 300 on the shade side.
It's kind of like I saw someone post today saying that, hey,
so
Pluto will have revolved around the sun exactly one time since we found it in the year 2135.
Right.
Which is funny when you see those man on the street interviews like Jimmy Kimmel does or any of the other comedians or talk show hosts when they go out and just ask people questions, like what denotes a year? What is a year?
Mm-hmm.
In relationship to the earth and the sun and everything, like what is a year? That's how long it takes the Earth to rotate around, or
they
don't understand. No, that's how long it takes for the Earth to orbit the sun.
Yes,
right.
And that's why I said time is based off of something else. Like it's an observation. It's like, hey, between this object and this object, and it takes these many times to do that. Boom, that's
or
a
what,
year.
Or what is a day? What is a day? That's how long it takes us to orbit the sun. No, that's a year.
Yeah.
You got those backward.
Yeah, but these are the exact kind of questions that have the reason why time has given me such a fit for the last 15, 20 years. I've gone back and forth on, it's a total illusion, completely man-made.
Well, it is
perspective.
It is man-made, but
it is, and and then I've
even for me to travel
here.
Time is a measurement. It takes me 50 minutes to get here. That's a measurement of distance and time,
right? And it's also 30 miles. Which
it is all man-made.
Yes.
It's just it's an arbitrary measurement,
right?
Not necessarily arbitrary. It's something that we're measuring.
It's the way
against.
to calculate. It's a calculation. It's to say,
but Einstein's calculations have proved that it's not purely perception.
Yeah, well, and it's the same thing in my mind as imperial measurements versus metric system, right? It's a foot was the size of the king's foot or whatever versus
But it's not quite that way. Like so, a photon that leaves the photosphere of the sun, right? I mean, not from the core because that could take over 1 million years, right? Because of the density.
But one blasting off the surface, traveling at the speed of light.
Once it leaves the surface, it takes 8 light minutes to reach Earth, right?
Yes.
But for that photon, it's instantaneous. There's no time difference. It's traveling at the speed of light. So there's no time. See, that's where it starts to tweak a little bit. Right? From the perspective of the photon leaving the surface of the sun to its impact with whatever object on the surface of the Earth, it takes, for humans, that's 8 light minutes.
Yes.
For that photon, nothing. No time at all.
You know what? You know
Not
what I've always
one
thought.
millisecond. Nothing.
Yeah.
Instant.
One of the things that my brilliant son has explained to me in his studies and in physics and everything is, in my mind, I'd always thought, if I'm in a car traveling 60 miles an hour and I stick my head out the window, and back in the day, I could throw a pretty mean fastball, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm in a car traveling 60 miles an hour and I throw if I get out the window and throw a mean fastball at 90 miles an hour, that ball is going to be traveling 150 miles an hour, right?
Right. On Earth.
Right.
Correct.
But the speed of light doesn't work that way.
Right.
No.
Like I had, prior to watching the latest Cosmos series with my son and having him explain this particular bit of the show to me, I'd always thought, okay, if we, as fast as we can go, if we start approaching the speed of light and then we shine a light out ahead of us, that light will, be almost doubled. It'll be, almost twice the speed of light. If we're traveling at near the speed of light, we shine a light, the particles of that light beam will be, two double the speed of light almost.
No.
And that's not how it works.
No.
It doesn't have to do with more of how you see it.
No, the speed of light is basically like terminal velocity.
So you'd say that would go into
that.
your flashlight would go into a black void.
Yeah,
like it would hit a wall and stop.
Not even hit a wall. It would just there would be no light emitted from it because you're already, or if you're traveling at the speed of light, you turn on the flashlight, there would be no light emitted.
Yeah, because you already.
Yeah. Here's another way to say it, and this blew my fucking mind. But let's say you have two sets of train tracks, right? And you have a train on each heading opposite directions. And one is going 20 miles an hour and the other one is going 10, right? Now they pass each other at a perceived pace of 30 miles an hour.
Right.
Right, on Earth. If you're traveling at half the speed of light throughout the universe and you turn a flashlight on, right? Then the light beams from that flashlight are going to go the full speed of the speed of light away from you.
Right.
Not half the speed, but full speed.
Yes.
So now let's say you're traveling at the full speed, 186,000 miles per second, the full speed of light throughout the universe, and you turn on your flashlight. That light is still going to travel at 186,000 miles per second away from you. Not half.
No,
not
that's
zero.
what I'm saying. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way.
It's like a sonic boom. You will see it before you hear it because of the way the sound travels. But the person who's in that aircraft will not feel it or hear it because they are going faster. They are physically outrunning that noise.
Wait, I think you misunderstood me.
No, I think we were on the same page because Wade.
Yeah, you both disagreed. So let me hear you out because maybe
nothing can exceed the speed of light. So if that light's if you're already going the speed of light, that light can only travel at the speed that you're already going. It can't exceed that speed. So the light would go nowhere. It would stay right where it's at. There would be no light penetrating forward because it is already at that speed. It's staying there.
Yeah, so in relationship to you, it still wouldn't be moving away from you at the speed of light. It would be at a reduced speed.
Nope.
Like if you travel at the speed of sound, you will not hear the sonic boom because you are in front of it.
Correct, but that's sound in an atmosphere. What you're talking about is the speed of light, and you're talking about a constant, which was already talked about by Einstein in his theories, which is why E equals mc squared, and C equals constant for the speed of light. So,
but the way Dan's saying it is, light is a constant, but nothing can go exceed it.
Correct, I agree.
Yes.
But if you're going the speed of light and you turn on your flashlight, it still moves away from you at the speed of light. Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Maybe we're saying the same thing, but not we're missing each other in the.
That's why I asked you to clarify, but that's absolutely how it works.
So you're saying
then it's so counterintuitive.
And I honestly don't know how it works.
But so you're saying then that if I'm traveling at the speed of light, I turn on a flashlight, the beams from that light would then, in effect, be traveling at twice the speed of light?
Nope.
Okay, then you're correct.
No, they would not. That's the constant. That's why it's C. That's why I was just saying.
So you're saying it would still be traveling at the speed of light, but if you're already at the speed of light, it would basically be going nowhere.
That's what we're saying.
No,
in your perception,
you won't be able to see it.
No, that's not what I'm saying. It would still move at the speed of light.
Yes.
But it moves at the full speed of light instantaneously.
Yes.
Away from you.
Yes.
Right? Now
So
it's
if
not,
you are
it's
moving,
not exceeding the universal speed of light. But it's
So
still moving at the speed of light. That's why it's so counterintuitive. Because on Earth the math works one way. But when you're in the universe, it's totally different.
So nothing can exceed the speed of light, not
Correct.
even light can exceed. So if you're traveling at the speed of light and you shine a light,
Yep.
you are moving at the same speed that light would then be coming out of that flashlight.
Yeah, except
So how could you see it?
well, this is the counterintuitive part. But that light still moves at the speed of light away from you at the speed of light.
Then it would be moving double the speed of light.
Yep.
Because then you're saying that it would basically be doubling the speed of light.
It's just like saying that the thing
Because
about
it
being
wouldn't-
on a
it can't-
train at the speed of light, you
Okay,
can't.
if you're traveling at the speed of light and you shine something ahead of you in the direction you're heading, and you shine a light, it cannot break the speed of light, so it will not travel away from you at the speed of light.
You're using Earth math.
No, we're using the constant of saying you cannot.
using the
Nothing can
constant
exceed
of the speed of light.
Do you have it pulled up?
Earth math would say
trying
you
to-
can go like Dan was saying with the baseball.
Look up what if you turn your headlights on going the speed of light
Okay.
and see if it comes up.
Okay, Google. What happens if I turn my headlights on while I'm traveling at the speed of light? And we're waiting to see what the Google says. And it just brings up a bunch of different texts and everything.
If you are
Well,
a physicist type dude and you like talking about the speed of light, send us an email on the thoughts on this.
Yeah, I should get my son on the show.
Yeah, because
He's just fucking brilliant, man.
He is.
Because none of us are actual like
not at all
scientists.
not even a little bit, as you have already figured out.
Yeah, so we could be completely wrong on this whole premise right now.
Somebody is for sure.
Of course, because we got two things going here, but I can see where Dan is going with it.
Yep.
But-
So can I too.
But like when you say it's not Earth, and I'm like, well, yeah, because if it were on Earth, it would be the baseball analogy, where if you're traveling at 50 miles an hour and you throw a baseball at 90 miles an hour, that baseball is now moving at 160 miles an hour.
Yep.
Is exceeding your original speed.
Yep.
But if your original speed that you were at was a speed that is mathematically not allowed to be exceeded, that baseball would stay right there. You'd release it, you would throw forward, and it would stay in that one spot. It wouldn't go anywhere because it cannot exceed the speed you're already going at.
Yep.
That's where I'm saying.
That's the intuitive answer.
That's where I'm saying if you
That's
turn
the
that
Earth answer,
flashlight on,
Doesn't work that
it
way.
can't exceed that speed.
Doesn't work that way.
Well,
Light doesn't work that way.
but if it would be exceeding that speed, if you can physically.
What do you
see
mean?
it,
nope. You just keep saying nope.
I know.
If you
but
can
You
physically
sound like
see
you
it
sound like a
projecting,
God botherer. Nope. I know. You're wrong. I know. Nope.
if you can physically see it being projected, it has to be going faster than the speed of light because you yourself are already at that speed. That's why I don't think you would be able to see it, but maybe people behind you could see a glow from it because they are behind that light. Where you've already reached the speed at which that light can the maximum speed that light can travel. You already exceeded it. You're already at that where that light source is at. So how can that light source penetrate past you if you already get the maximum speed that light can go at?
Okay, I know that's
why I think the people behind you could see a glow from that light.
I'm really waiting for Dan here because that's the intuitive answer, and from what I read about this, we're
gonna have to do some more reading because it's a brain teaser.
Lights
we're
fucked
talking
up,
about
man.
it, and people listen to this, and now they feel like these guys don't know shit.
No, we don't, man. I don't know fucking shit.
Yeah, I'm a firefighter.
Yeah, all of these are very long. I can't find something that is short and to the point.
Ask Siri, can you see a visible light shine forward while traveling at the speed of light?
I'm gonna look this up.
I'm gonna go
next
back
week.
to that.
I'm gonna look this up for next week.
All right.
I look forward to you
Let me
coming
write
in
it
and
down.
saying you guys were absolutely correct.
I know, because
I'd be happy to do that.
in my honest, the way my brain's trying to think of it is that honestly, if you could see the light, that light would have to be traveling faster than the speed of light.
That's what I say about intuity, man.
So this seems to be a fairly shorter one here. So this is on IO9, and it says one of the more popular questions from our Ask a Physicist feature was, what happens if you're driving at the speed of light and you turn on your headlights? The simple answer, you can't, so quit trying.
Sure.
At least 10 of you asked some variant of this question, but Terrail asked it first and arguably most succinctly. So Terrail, feel free to email me so we can send you a free copy of blah, 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 blah. Sadly, physics teaches that we are forever confined to sublight speeds. There were several comments in response to the original call for questions that took umbrage at this certainty on the part of physicists. Are we just being closed-minded? There are always people who are skeptical of equations regardless of other evidence. For example, long after the advent of nuclear weapons and power have vindicated Einstein, I still get detailed manuscripts from people every few weeks claiming that E equals mc squared is wrong. So no lengthy derivations, but I will give you a few observations, and hopefully that will be enough. Special relativity predicts that if you take a massive particle and keep applying forces to it, it goes faster and faster, slowly approaching the speed of light, but never quite reaching it. Right now, for example, the Large Hadron Collider has protons flying around at a whopping 3.5 TeV. This means that the protons are traveling 99.999994% the speed of light, and when the LHC gets up to full power at about twice the energy, the protons will go even faster, but even then, less than the speed of light. At these speeds, the difference between at and a tiny bit below the speed of light may seem academic, but it makes a world of difference. We always need to accept the possibility that we could be wrong, but in this case, there's just so much evidence that we are right. If the particle colliders would actually work... the particle colliders wouldn't actually work if relativity were wrong. For that matter, neither would GPS devices. Michelson Morley found in 1887 that light travels at the same speed to all moving observers, a result that doesn't make sense unless special relativity is correct. All of the modern physics and technology is built on an edifice of special relativity, and so far it's proven ridiculously accurate. In other words, you've got a very big barrier to overcome if you want to prove Einstein wrong. Let me read through here real quick. Oh, yeah, here we go.
All right.
So, if I'm in a boxcar moving 60 miles per hour and throw a 90 mile per hour fastball, someone standing by the side of the tracks will see the ball moving at 150 miles per hour. It seems like the same logic would work with light, except that it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Strange things happen when you get close to the speed of light, and they become stranger still when you realize that your high school physics teacher perhaps inadvertently lied to you. Lots of you are sci-fi nerds, so I'm guessing that at least once in your lives you learn Newton's force equation, force equals mass
times
something.
Yeah.
F equals ma.
F equals ma. Yeah.
Deciphering the symbols, it means that if you apply a constant force to a particle, it should experience a
Mass
constant
times
acceleration. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Taken to its natural extremes, if I apply a force for long enough and the particle keeps accelerating, eventually it should exceed the speed of light. Voila! Newton's force equation, at least in the form it's normally written, is wrong. But then what happens when you get close to the speed of light and turn on your headlights? From your perspective, nothing. Or at least nothing special. If you held a mirror in front of you, you'd look exactly as you always have. In fact, one of the surprising things about special relativity is that if you were looking at all the scenery passing you, you couldn't tell that you were moving at all. But from the perspective of people standing on the sidelines, things look really cool. Stationary observers would notice that your entire ship, or race car, or whatever you're driving at 99% the speed of light, is compressed along your direction of motion. If you're standing the right way, it'll look like you've lost weight and that your body has been flattened under a giant stone. Yeah. They'd also see your clocks, and your heartbeat, your speech, your computer cycles running slow. That is true, but completely unobservable in everyday life. Typically on Earth, it's an effect of about 1 part in a quadrillion, but at 99% the speed of light, you'll appear to be running at only 1/7 the speed. The length contraction and time dilation conspire, out of mathematical necessity, to make your high beams move at the speed of light to somebody watching you from the side. But just as a baseball gets a boost of energy when you throw it on a train, which you shouldn't do incidentally, the light gets a boost of energy as well. The difference is that it doesn't go faster. It just looks bluer. In this case, your headlights would be boosted into the ultraviolet. Stranger still is the case of two spaceships traveling toward one another, each at 99% the speed of light. Common sense would dictate that the captain of each ship would see the other hurtling toward him at faster than light. Not so. One of the results of the constant speed of light is that all relative speeds are going to be less than you think. In this case, for example, each captain would see the other coming at him at only 99.995% the speed of light. Back to the original question, which incidentally is so startlingly good that it's one that it's one of the ones that Einstein himself asked as a young man. What would happen if you could get up to the speed of light? As you get closer and closer to the speed of light, time gets slower and slower compared to stationary observers. So if you really need an answer to the original question, this means that if you actually hit the speed of light for real time, time would stop entirely, which means that nothing could happen. Mm-hmm. But that's okay, because you can't get up to it in the first place.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. All right. Well, fair enough.
That's why I say the only way to actually be able to time travel would be to travel at near the speed of light, because you yourself be traveling slower than all the people around you. So 1 year on a train traveling the speed of light, when you stop, 10 years will have passed in the actual world or something like that.
Right, but let's not skip over my shame here.
You were wrong.
And based on that article, I obviously had confused special and general relativity without incorporating Newton's F equals ma. So
initially I thought the same way as you until I watched that episode of the Cosmos, and then my son explained it all to me. I was like, oh.
That's why, because I've always had the understanding when they say if you're traveling at near the speed of light, you are on the verge of it, and you jump forward, will you travel faster than the speed of light? And the answer is no, you can't.
Yeah.
Well, it's impossible.
Nothing with mass can go that fast. But aside from that, I'm going to do more research and figure out if I'm as wrong as I sound, which is probably the case. But in any case,
I think I remember when they had the theoretical train thing mocked up to travel the speed of light. They're like, well, first of all, it would take 10 years for this train to safely get up to the speed of light without physically killing everyone on board of it.
You can't jump from 0 to speed of light.
Yeah, because you would die. So the train would have to get up to that speed and keep going and increasing the speed. And then if you spent 1 year on that train at near the speed of light, that's when it would, you would time travel. You'd go into the future because time has...
You don't really go into the future. Time relative to you stop. Versus the other things around you, if you're on Earth, would slow. Time slows for you at that rate.
Yes. For you, yes. Yeah. But for the rest of the world around you, it's going at the same speed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So essentially, once that train stops after 1 year of traveling, the people around you that weren't on that train will have felt more time pass by than the people on the train.
The people around you wouldn't be alive anymore.
Well,
it seems that I recall reading an article some time ago talking about even astronauts that travel out of Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah.
That the speeds at which they travel to and from the surface of the planet basically doesn't make them younger, but it reduces the aging process by like a micro amount.
It's not just the speed.
They did the math.
It's not just the speed though, but it's God, I feel like I can't even talk anymore because it's the removing themselves from the mass.
Yes.
Mass is also a component in time. It's not just speed, it's also mass.
Yeah.
So as you get closer to like a black hole,
time slows because your mass is accelerating.
Well, time changes, yeah. Depends which way. So if you leave a massive object like the Earth, even though it's minimal mass, as you leave the mass of the Earth, time slows.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily speed, because we're not getting anywhere near approaching the speed of light to affect time, but it's removing yourself from the mass.
But I think that guy you're talking about too.
I know Dan's already skeptical just because I was wrong.
Oh no, I'm not skeptical. No, it was. I'm thinking I really need to get my son on the show
because there was a.
Let's do it.
There's a Russian cosmonaut that had the record amount of time spent in space, which was 6-7 months or whatever he's out there for.
Yeah,
and he lost a few.
They've sent clocks,
milliseconds off of time from everyone else on Earth from the time he spent out there.
This is what blew my mind. They've sent clocks, and the clocks actually physically.
I mean,
it's not just
it may be a minute
physically
amount.
Change.
Yeah.
They physically tick at different times based on their proximity to massive objects.
And it may be a minute amount, but it is still an amount that proves that
the speed is basically negligible, because we can't approach anything close to the speed of light to make it anything measurable, per se. But moving away from massive objects, we can do that. And that has made some physical measurable differences, which blew my fucking mind.
Which is why I thought there's also something else
That's crazy.
they also say about black holes, saying that you'll never actually hit a black, like you never actually enter it.
Yeah, that you wouldn't be able to get over the event horizon.
Yeah, because the time you'd get to that spot and time would just stop because no light, nothing escapes it. But you would.
Well,
it's all very strange.
I know.
Yeah. What are we even talking about? Why?
My son's
Why are we
like
talking
totally
about
into
this?
all of that kind of stuff.
Because it's
It'd be
interesting.
awesome to get.
No, I know, but
man.
like none of us have any authority.
No, we got no authority
all.
on it. But this is what people that go, well, we know God isn't real, but this shit is fucking cool
and
'cause it actually exists. Why? How?
He's awesome at explaining things. I mean, he's a great teacher, tutor. He's fucking brilliant kid. Yeah, he get him on the show.
He is a brilliant kid.
Does your son still live around here?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. I never met him.
Like
I know.
5 minutes from here.
I know he takes letters off walls and rearranges them, but
The wrath of a family.
yeah, definitely. Let's have young Ellis on the show sometime.
Mark Casey, actually, but yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, his last name is Mark. You can call him Marchese.
Okay.
What's his first name?
Gray.
Oh, perfect. I'll call him that.
Yeah.
Gray cheesy.
Gray, Mr. McCheese.
All right.
Well, I've got a bunch of notes. I'm going to study up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely an interesting. I mean, it would be cool if we can get like a few like. We should get more scientists on here to talk because
Yeah, we've had one.
when we had
Josh on
yeah,
here.
The
anthropologist.
Anthropologist. I mean, that was I thought I learned stuff from that, and I'm
I did
hoping
too.
some of our listeners actually learned stuff from that. And I was like, wow, I'm feeling enlightened after having listened
Yeah.
to what he said.
I like learning stuff,
I know.
which is weird to me that a lot of religious people seem to not like to learn things because it contradicts what they want to believe. They shut down and don't want to learn these things that are so fucking cool, so much cooler than any god or any promises of any afterlife could ever give you. The facts of the universe that you're in are so fucking amazing.
All right, I'm going to go back. It's maturity. Are you willing to accept the fact that all this shit's cool, but you're going to fucking die and you don't have a sky daddy to pet your head when you're feeling sad? Or
I think they just think it's
you're
the
going to
devil's
live
work.
forever? Look,
So the way it was
that's what it
explained to
is.
me that I accepted was by a sociologist who said that, maturity is a social construct, right?
That's the way
Maturity
I look
is
at
a social construct.
Oh, that's a
even when
fucking easy way out.
No,
man.
but
it is. I mean, even when you refer to maturity, you're referring to it in comparison to your social construct and your view of what makes somebody mature, right? So if society at large views religious belief and somebody who holds a religious belief as mature, that's not saying that they're necessarily immature. It's kind of a relativity thing, right? So we can say, I don't think they're necessarily mature, but society at large would say that they are because it's accepted. Does that make sense?
I don't give a shit.
maturity is relative to your society.
I don't give one shit about that. I give no shits
but
about that.
I'm saying it's relative, and it's a societal definition. It's not. There's no hard and fast rules to it. There is no black and white.
All right, fair enough. There's no black and white. But if you want to call yourself a grown-up adult human being that takes care of other people, but you want to still pretend that there's a sky daddy petting your head when you're sick and all that shit, you're not fucking grown up and you're not mature.
Well, and then you could look at it as, okay, well, what if they're ignorant of those facts? What if they have no idea of that, right?
come on,
Would you
man.
still call them immature?
Yep.
Why? Like before you were ever an atheist, before you had any idea that there was even a concept of not believing in God and being okay, would you say that you were immature?
In that sense, yes.
Because there was an unknown thing, like it was completely out of your realm of knowledge.
Oh God!
I think,
Are you going to make me wrong twice on
yes.
this? Yeah.
I think immature is the wrong. I think you need to find another way to put it.
I'm not ready to back off of that one yet, but
Well,
I will tell you where I will.
I would even say that I would agree with you that in my view, I think it's immature.
All right.
But
Look, all right. I'm not ready to back off of what Ryan wants me to. The whole fucking no, it's still immature. But I think your point is, I'm willing to take a little bit of that into consideration. What you were saying, Dan, because I grew up a little bit tougher, in the sense that I didn't have a mom. I mean, I had a mom that was really sterile and really cold and unemotional. There was no physical and tucked into bed and kissing and all that, whatever, all that bullshit.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of that, So to me, when I see adults doing that stuff that I didn't even have when I was 4, I'm just like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I say, I totally get it.
And
I
now they're making up people who are going to do that for them. And I'm just like, it blows my mind.
Yeah. And I get that. I totally understand that argument. And I'm just saying that, but that's from our perspective and that's our social relativism.
Fair enough. All right. There's an element.
They could say the same thing about us on their side of the fence.
How so?
I don't think they could say the same thing about us necessarily.
I'm not saying that. You are very immature for not believing in the scripture. How dare you not do? I don't know.
I don't know that they could say.
I don't know that they could say we were immature because they wouldn't be able to say that we don't know something that they know. I mean, we know their religion probably better than most of them do, right? So they wouldn't be able to say that you don't know, so you're immature, you haven't learned these things, you haven't experienced it, whatever. We've rejected it as being bullshit. So they wouldn't necessarily be able to say that we're immature. I mean, it's a different thing. It's relative. Yeah,
because when I hear maturity, I think of saying, well, if you have a 2-year-old child crying in the aisle of a store because his parents wouldn't buy him what he wanted, that child's maturity level, that's how he's going to react.
Yeah, but he's 2.
Yes. If you have a 30-year-old man doing the same thing in an aisle crying because his girlfriend or wife won't buy him what he wants, that is immature.
That's what they do. They go to church and cry in the aisle because daddy won't give me what I want. That's exactly what they do.
But I'm saying that's still relative, right?
It's relative to our social construct.
Thank you for proving my point.
But I don't think it.
I think we all agree on every point. We're wording
the definition of maturity.
Yeah, and I mean, and those are still societal constructs. I mean, we would expect that a 2-year-old would act that way. That's accepted. It's the social norm. When a 30-year-old does it, we know that is unacceptable behavior for a 30-year-old person.
Yeah, but
if I think of an evangelical Christian, I think of them acceptably.
But we think that way because that 30-year-old person has been taught things or should have been taught things that would lead them to not act that way.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. All right, fair enough. However, we live in a world that's not sparsely populated.
Correct.
Okay. So.
Well, are you talking land mass?
Ah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, because
land mass, Earth surface. Are we including the oceans?
Look, there's a shit ton of people.
Yeah.
And a very large percentage of those people
live in highly populated areas.
Behave within certain parameters that are socially acceptable.
Yes, according to a religion.
Which, no. But the social parameters, according to what you're saying, I think, Dan, right, based on what we've decided are social parameters, right? I think that's your point. Fair enough. I'll accept that. However, if there's a 30-year-old acting like that, whether it's
like the 2-year-old in the store,
whether it's in a Walmart or in the privacy of his own home or her home, and they're well aware of the social parameters, if they're not handicapped, I don't give a fuck what the parameters are. You're a fucking baby. Grow up.
But is it not also more socially acceptable in society to erect
I don't care.
I know you don't care, but it's more socially acceptable in this society to erect a religious symbol than it would be to erect
not even necessarily that it's socially acceptable. It's a societal norm.
Yes.
Woman up and stop pretending. That's my point.
Oh yeah, I agree. I don't like the way it is either. But that's the way our society fucking works. And that's what we're trying to change. That's what our goal as an atheist movement is to kind of go, look what you're doing. This is fucking bullshit.
Yeah. And my point is, all of these people who are writing laws for us right now, who go to church every Sunday, are acting just like that 2-year-old in the aisle of Walmart, except they understand enough of the social norms to do it in their own fucking bedrooms.
But are we as atheists socially accepted in society?
Grow up.
I know where you're going, Matt. I agree with you. We do agree with you, but it's the terminology of it.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm there.
But us as atheists, are we socially accepted in our society?
Of course not.
No. We are not the social norm. As atheists, or people who proclaim, or people who are more vocal atheists, we are not the social norm.
That's an interesting point. All right, go ahead.
I'm not saying that we're immature for not being socially normed.
No, I get what you mean.
But I'm saying
you're
if,
saying
if you're taking on a maturity level, we are the ones that are the abnormal ones.
and I'm viewing them from my perspective.
Yes,
and
yes.
and say, yeah, well, Jesus
when they
Christ,
are the normal ones in the society, they're the ones that are accepted
I
as the
understand.
social norm.
Yeah.
We
So-
are the ones accepted as the abnormal
like I
in
said,
society.
It's all relative.
It is, exactly.
Fuck.
Yeah.
If you go to Denmark,
But
So
to
how do I
extend-
have
to extend
sympathy
Max?
for how do I have sympathy for that?
Well, I would
because
say
it's the truth.
I would
Yeah,
say
no, I
that
know
to
it
extend
is.
Matt's argument,
But that's some
you could say
Jesus
that people
Christ.
who are presented with this information and know that it's fact and then choose to ignore it and believe whatever they want, even if they have the knowledge that what they believe is not correct and they cast that aside and still choose to believe whatever
Yeah.
they want just because they want to, that's immaturity.
Yes.
That's what I'm look, that's what I'm talking about. In the age of the internet, there's no excuse.
Well, there is. I mean, if they haven't been
No.
exposed to it and if they don't know, maybe they have no desire to seek it out. Maybe they have
And-
no
and
idea that
that's
it even is out there.
fucking
And that's
guys,
where the
man.
indoctrination of our society. but you got to look at it as where the indoctrination comes from.
Why do I make you guys do this?
I think so. And
Why
I
do
think
you
we- I think we
why
can
do you
start
guys
to it.
become apologists every week?
I'm
on
not an
this show?
apologist.
No, not at all. I think it's fucking dumb.
I'm just
and
saying,
I think,
yeah, we
I think that
agree
they
it's stupid.
should take
And it's
advantage of all the
immature.
knowledge available to
Yeah,
them.
but
And they have Google.
We might be
on
taking
their
more.
phones.
I think
Yeah.
we might
There's
be taking
no
more of the
excuse.
devil's advocate approach to it. But
I agree.
But when you look at society, when you look at kids that are being taught this from before they can even fucking speak a word, this is
Like
all
me?
they have. Yes,
Like Dan,
and it's not easy for people to break away from it.
I
Obviously,
agree.
because you look at the
But
numbers
it's
that do
called-
break away are so few.
it's called being a fucking grown up.
But the
It is-
encouraging thing is that those numbers continue to rise.
They do
year
continue
over
to
year.
rise because people are researching more for themselves. People are looking more and kind of going, but it's
Yeah.
taking that step that
And
it was
the ones who
harder for
don't-
you two to take that step than it was for me because I basically grew up an atheist.
Sure.
But for people to take that step that are ingrained in that society, that have always had that as their backbone, it's a really fucking hard step to take. And you got to admit that for people to take that step, even
Yeah, but
even
that's
if
part of being an
internally,
adult.
even if internally they're fighting with it, but they know externally, like, I don't want these consequences, so I'm just going to live by the social norm. I don't want to be viewed this way. I don't want that. I don't want that. So I'm going to play the game.
Would you say that is even possibly more mature?
That, I mean, it's. I think it's sad that they have to live that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
more
to,
mature
to
to-
have to live your life as your inauthentic
Yeah,
self.
and I think it causes more problems
more-
when people are forced to live
That's
that way.
more mature.
Well, to realize that, I'm just saying that perhaps it could be viewed as, if you do have that knowledge and you want to not disrupt society, you want to
Not
have no
offend.
problem.
I would agree with that in Saudi Arabia,
Yeah, fuck yeah, definitely.
but in
Well,
America,
because in Saudi
no.
Arabia
No.
you get
Yeah.
beheaded.
Well, and
Here
that's-
you just lose your family.
yeah, but again, that's still relative, right?
It's relative to what they don't want to lose.
All right.
These people don't want to lose
Which is-
family,
which
their
is-
ties. They don't
which
want to
is
lose. Their,
why I was willing to accept
Yeah.
parts of Dan's point about the social.
they don't want to lose.
still.
They don't want to lose their society.
Look, Yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's sad. And I think that's honestly what leads to a lot of suicides. It leads to a lot of drug addiction. It leads to a lot of really bad things when people are trying to find a way out.
yeah. Okay, fair
Or
enough.
if they're like, I can't deal with this anymore, and then the stress builds up, or if they're taking tons of drugs prescribed by a doctor because they got anxiety and all these other stuff going on.
Well, my parents are still devoutly Mormon.
Yeah.
I mean, what.
See, here's where the maturity comes
No, wait,
from.
let me finish this though, real quick. What if I would have said? What if I would have gone on with the kind of thinking that you're proposing as being quote mature, and just been like, oh, well, these are the social norms, so I'm going to pretend for a while, or I'm going to whatever, and just did that, and then this podcast never happened. I've never met you. I never
I would be
never
sad.
right? Of course.
But-
okay. So but look. It's part of being a grown
Yeah.
fucking person.
But that's-
right. That you say, hey, this is what I think. This is how I feel. This is what's going on. Whatever, right? That's part of being grown up.
Everybody makes their own decisions, and everybody makes their own decisions in time. So you might have made a decision at an earlier time than someone else could have.
Cop out, man.
No, it's not a cop out.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think it is. I think
Yeah, it is.
I think it's the way that
No.
I
This is so
Well,
weird.
and some people have
every
more to
time-
lose by coming
Yes.
out, right?
Well,
I mean,
fair enough. All right.
especially
Fair.
in this state where it's very much revolves around religion. Like in the Midwest, nobody gives a fuck if you're religious or not. It's kind of like, okay, you're not religious.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I mean, I can tell you that if I worked at a company who, that was largely LDS or mainly owned by LDS, and I didn't have the protection of the union standing behind me to say you can't fire him because he's non-religious.
Right.
I would be much more careful about what I say and what I
Yeah.
do. And I mean, like I said, it's all relative. Some people like myself are afforded the luxury of being able to be an outspoken atheist and not have it negatively affect my work life necessarily. I'm sure that it still does affect it. I know that there are people that, that I work with who prior to me coming out as an atheist were totally friendly with me and would hang out with me, talk to me all the time, whatever. When I came out, they don't anymore. And I'm sure that there are some repercussions to me doing it, but they are not nearly as bad as somebody who worked at Deseret News.
Yeah. Well, what about for people who are homosexual and there's no protection for them in a workplace? Or they have to hide the fact that they are homosexual or to keep a job or to keep the lifestyle that they want. So it's something that they, even though...
Or to try to get into housing.
Yes.
Or,
so they have to hide it. They have to pretend they have to pretend they're someone they're not.
Yeah, I can't speak to that, but
I mean, that's why I think there are people who are playing religious, even though deep inside they don't believe in it, but they're just going along with the motions to please the people around them because they don't want to have to suffer the consequences if they don't.
They don't want their
please
marriage
the
to
people
end. They
around
don't
them.
want to lose their children.
That's certainly
They
a
don't
part of the
wanna
group. Yeah, of course.
They don't want to be ostracized by their family.
I'm talking more about like, preachers and priests and grown men and women and these kind of people that,
who make their living teaching religion.
Not necessarily,
and if they come out as an atheist, then their entire
life is
livelihood is gone.
Because there
Wiped away.
was
their social structure, their familial structure, their work. I mean, everything is gone.
Their income.
All right. So
which is why there are, believe it or not, actually practicing atheists who are preachers now because they are afraid to come out.
Yeah.
All right. So keep lying to kids. Perfect. Yeah. Keep enabling the kids that rape our kids. The guys that rape our kids. Yeah. Fine. Perfect.
That's why there needs to be a social change.
No.
There needs to be a social change.
And that's what we're
What about Garrett?
They're working toward.
What about Garrett, who we had on last week? He stand to lose everything by coming out and did anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. He took that step.
He's a hero.
That's maturity.
Some people aren't willing to take that step.
They're immature.
And I'm not going to say they're immature. They're just not. They're
No, you're
afraid.
not going to. That's the argument we're having.
Fear.
But it's totally different too.
Okay,
I mean, he was a returning missionary at 21 years old with no job. I mean, he had nothing to come back to other than living at his parents' house, and he had already set up somewhere else to live. So I mean, the only things that he really stood to lose were, societal acceptance or familial and social connections. He wasn't risking losing his job, his home, his career. Comparatively speaking, comparing him to a preacher who may have church-sponsored housing, whose paycheck comes from the church,
right? All illegal,
all of that,
all unjustified and illegal.
Oh yeah,
shouldn't happen in the first place.
Yeah.
If he doesn't believe, he should own up to that and be mature about it.
But this is where
and a lot of them do. I mean,
some of them do.
No, there's an actual society built to help them.
Yep, there is,
Yeah.
and it's a very small percentage.
Well, a lot of them don't come out and be very vocal.
Well, it's kind of hard to say if it's a small percentage or not. I mean, how many of them are
come on.
going to say whether they're a non-believer, right?
All right, so
most of them are.
I mean, it's a difficult thing to gauge, but we do know that there are people who do practice and do leave or do practice and stay as a clergy person and will modify the teachings that they give to be just more humanitarian, to be more accepting, and honestly, sometimes those people are of great benefit to secularism.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
Because they don't teach fire and brimstone and gays are bad and should be killed and all of that kind of bullshit.
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
And in a way, they can help lead their flock toward being more humanistic in all of their thoughts.
Is this the conversation we had that didn't make it? Is this?
No, that was Don Cheeto.
Oh, Don Cheeto. So we've had this twice now.
No, Don Cheeto was something else.
No, he's saying because
so now-
this is the
now
conversation
this
that we've
one
had
we've
before
had
that we didn't
twice.
lose.
Yeah, we had this conversation twice,
sorry,
but on a different
everybody.
scale. But with the way
No,
this,
but I think it's good. I think we're
Yeah.
hashing out some differences.
I think it's ultimately I think it's a semantic issue.
It is.
more
It's-
than anything because I think
it's terminology.
or semantic.
Yeah,
I think semantics plays into it, but I still think it's more of a relativity issue. It's
What? Okay, fair
not
enough.
everybody
I think
can
there's
act the
both.
same all the time.
which is why
Right.
I was going to kind of bring
fair
up
enough, fair
like
enough.
everyone always talks about the atheist agenda and like, oh, our agenda is to get rid of
Yeah.
Christianity, kill them all, and it's kind of like, no, it's not the agenda. I think the agenda of most atheists is to be able to have the society recognize that atheists exist and we are no different than you. So accept it. We are here. We're not going to leave. People don't have to believe in your God.
And I agree.
So I think that the goal of atheism should be to make society more acceptable of atheism, more acceptable of basically going,
More accepting.
basically more accepting, saying, okay, you don't believe. Cool. Why should I fucking care?
No problem. Yeah.
No problem.
And I agree. And in order to make that happen, we're going to have more people coming out.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
there's
absolutely. If you can, come
And the
out,
more
you should
people
come
that
out.
come
no,
out,
not
the
and
more
that's the caveat that I don't like. If you can come out, no, come out.
Well, yeah,
there's-
but I mean, you can't. So
Everyone has a different
like I said,
situation.
if you're a preacher whose housing depends on it, whose livelihood depends on it, whose family depends on it, you don't have to come out right away. But you should absolutely start preparing yourself to come out. You should start working toward the ability to come out.
Yeah, because nothing's going to happen if they still think that this is a Judeo-Christian country and that 95% of people are church-going Protestants.
Yeah, well, that's when I said that they
no.
start modifying the teachings that they're providing to their congregation to be more humanist in their teaching.
Yeah, but I mean,
which is
the
why
reason-
they even said, there's even a report that came out today that says most young evangelical or the new age evangelical students or children or whatever, this new generation of evangelicals coming out are more accepting of it or accept climate change and are becoming more accepting of homosexuality.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
society
every
is
year.
changing. People are teaching them different things, even though they might be learning stuff. And
Well, yeah, I mean, we were talking pre-podcast about generational differences.
Yes.
Right? It took a generation to end women being treated. Well, women
Women's
still are.
suffrage
Women still are in. Women still
Yeah.
are face huge hurdles. But
Yeah.
women's suffrage was a generation.
yes,
Racism, institutional racism was a
Yes.
generation. It's these generational differences. Krauss is saying that he hopes and thinks that perhaps within a generation we could move away from religion being the primary motivating factor behind all
Yes.
of these horrific things that are happening to humanity.
Well, I'm gonna go look
Take-
up some things here.
okay.
I got a lot of crap to do. I'm gonna look up maturity,
The
the definition.
the Oxford Dictionary definition or the
Yeah.
the Webster.
Well, I don't care either
Okay.
one. I'm gonna look at that a little bit. I'm gonna see. Oh god, I got to look up social stuff, societal norms. But I want to see.
Yeah, well, and back when we had this argument
I think-
before, I
I know.
posted that out to my Facebook, and it
Yeah.
was
Yeah, but
my buddy Roger, who's a sociologist, commented, and that swayed me the other way to say, and when we first had the conversation, I was totally in your camp, right, and saying, no, yeah, they're not mature, blah blah blah. I could see Ryan's point of view, but I think
they're
I
not
agreed more
fully
with
mature.
you. And now I think I understand and can see both points, but it's still relative within each viewpoint. As an atheist, I can look at somebody who believes in a magical sky daddy and think that's fucking stupid and you're immature. But if they don't have the knowledge, if they're not specifically, if they haven't obtained that knowledge to know that a lot of the beliefs that they hold are just fucking wrong, then how can I say that they're immature when they don't have that knowledge?
and I don't think it depends on that. I think it just depends. I think it just depends on look, there's something inside of me that made me not want to be
Yes.
a servant of my parents or of society or of customs forever. Like
There has
at
to
some
be-
point you just fucking grow up.
There has to be a catalyst that makes them want to change away from their religion. And
Well,
I know
you
you
can-
brought up the internet thing, but unless they have that catalyst that gives them that thought, like, I'm going to go research this more, even though the information is there, they're not going to go look at it because they're like, oh, that's all bullshit anyways. I'm like, why am I going to spend my time on that God's real? Why that guy's stupid?
Yeah, well, no, I'm not saying stupid.
No,
Well,
I'm
and
saying
I
that, but
I can liken it to knowledge in any particular or specific area.
Yeah, I was
right?
just gonna-
if you're a doctor, you're not a full doctor until you've gone through all of your years of school, you've gone through residency, you've had your experience. You're not a full doctor. You're not a mature doctor. You're not fully mature in being a doctor of whatever practice you are going to be doing, right?
Right.
But you can't point to them and go, oh, you're bad and you're immature and you need to grow the fuck up. They're still working toward that. But if they never chose to be a doctor, never chose to learn any of that, and you're still pointing the finger at them and saying, grow the fuck up and be a doctor, you know, that
analogy
may
doesn't
not
really
be a
work.
great analogy.
well,
but
maybe
Yeah,
it
doesn't.
maybe it's
that
better to
analogy
say
doesn't
that people are ignorant towards the other side. They
Right.
they don't have the knowledge or don't even seek the knowledge to learn or to educate themselves about what the other side views. So they're ignorant towards that viewpoint.
Let me say it this way and see if this helps. William Lane Craig, right, who we've talked about tonight,
Yes.
exceeds me in many, many areas.
sure.
Right? Education, foreign knowledge, right? He studied in Germany, got a PhD in Germany, in Islamic studies, right? He got a master's in that, decided that they were wrong on Jesus, got a PhD in Christian stuff, right? He exceeds me and is more mature in all of those ways, in making money, in business, in public speaking, all of that stuff, in philosophy, all of those things. He's more mature than me.
Sure.
But as far as believing in Jesus and God, I'm more mature than William Lane Craig.
But would
in
you say that
aspect.
you are more fully mature? I mean, you just listed off all of these different things that he knows and is more mature in you.
That you have no study in.
Yeah.
Okay.
But would you then say that you are not fully mature because you don't know those things?
All right. This goes back to my original point. A person cannot be fully mature if they believe in God. That's my point.
I would disagree.
I don't know how you can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just highlighted it yourself. I mean, you said that they cannot be fully mature if they believe in God. And,
Right.
and then you pointed to all of these different things that William Lane Craig is much more mature than you because
Right.
he has these specific areas of expertise or knowledge.
Yep. I'm not not claiming to be fully mature.
So somebody who, well, sure. Okay.
I'm just saying a person can't.
But then would you
Then
point
who
at
is
yourself
fully mature?
and call yourself a fucking baby?
For what?
That's what you're doing with religious people is you're pointing at them and saying they're not fully mature, they're fucking babies. But then you're saying
area?
that I don't know all of these different things. So okay, I guess if you want to say in that area, sure, but it's still relative.
In terms of things that William Lane Craig studied in Germany and for his master, yeah, I'm a baby for sure.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is it's
Yeah,
relative.
all right.
And
This, you know what? This argument's stupid. It makes. I mean,
Because if you base it on that, then who is mature?
nobody. God damn it! I'm fucking wrong twice tonight. Jesus Christ! Now you know what?
no, I totally get your argument. I do. I understand
Yeah.
it, but it's still that's from my viewpoint. I mean, if I look at somebody who is religious, I can go, fuck, you know, you're still fucking immature. You don't even know all this different shit. And
But there's always gonna be someone that knows more.
Yeah, I know, but I guess my point was just that you have grown adults hanging on to a sky parent for all their comfort and needs, and that's the thing that just
Which is why I always went back to
which
this
bothers me too. I think it's fucking ridiculous.
social
It's
relativity.
sad.
I think that's what this whole thing has been about.
It has, but I think that's why we go back to the social thing being socially relative. It's accepted in our society to be that way.
Yeah, well, yeah, all right, I suppose, but
It would not be accepted in our society to walk around wearing nothing but a little piece of wood covering your genitals.
I understand.
Oh,
But
I
in
think
some-
I might accept that.
in some tribes, that's what deems you a warrior. That's what deems you to be a higher stature is by having that genital wrap thing, whatever that fucking stick thing they use to put there. It's weird looking.
A stick thing?
Oh, you should see the way these tribe
Not
people.
even a fig leaf?
No, it looks weird. It basically makes it look like you got an erect penis all the time. And then,
that's Papua New Guinea.
is that New Guinea where they do that?
Yeah,
it
it's
looks
banana
weird.
leaves, yeah.
But I mean, in their society, you are socially a man. You are at the top of society when you get to wear that. Here in our society, you'd be looked at and be like,
what the fuck are you doing?
What are you doing?
Why are you wearing that stick that makes it look like you have an erection?
Please go away. But over there, those are the men that are the leaders. They're the top tier of the men in their society.
They're the head honchos.
So social relativity,
Yeah.
here, that would be something that'd be completely fucking weird.
Oh, yeah.
In their society, that man has power.
Yeah.
He's someone you look up to. He's revered.
Yeah. And just as in moral relativism, I mean, we can look at those things and say that that's wrong or bad. The difference between, I think, maturity or societal maturity and relativism versus moral relativism is that you hear religious people all the time say, well, if you don't believe in a God, you have no ultimate authority, and so then everything can go. Everything happens. Everything is permissible.
Kill, you can murder,
you can do whatever
rape.
you want. Yeah. Which is wrong. I mean,
It is wrong.
You can look at, in fucking Saudi Arabia, it's, genital mutilation of females is accepted. It's the societal
It's a social norm.
Right. And that is morally acceptable to them. Here, because we think that, or my personal view is that morality is relative. It's not, morality is relative and is subjective. It's not objective. We don't have some ultimate source of morality. We decide what is best, and we decide, I can look at something and say that is harmful to someone else.
Yes.
And I object to that. They can look at it and say, no, it's not harmful to them. It protects them in whatever ways. Then we have to bring science into it and say, no, scientifically speaking, you're harming this person by, deadening their nerve endings. If you're practicing circumcision, you're removing the foreskin and, removing all of these nerve endings that make sex more pleasurable. And they can look at it and say, well, relatively speaking, according to my religious beliefs, this is something we should do. God commanded us to do this. This is what we're going to do. And it's bullshit, but I understand why they do it. I disagree with it, and I'll work against it and say that it's bad and harmful.
But
but I understand why they do it.
It's a social norm. That's why it's.
I understand why they do it, and will work to teach them why the reasons that they think it's good are bad.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll stick to apologist arguments from now on. I break those down pretty good, but I think that's because I'm kind of a hardline guy. That's why I can break down those arguments. But
I think I am too. As
far as the social stuff, I don't have much tolerance.
But I think that's where it gets tricky, because social things, I mean, it depends on where you're at.
Yeah, that's so subjective.
Even go with our society, you go back a few hundred years. What was socially accepted then is now not socially accepted now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Society changes, it evolves, and we hope it evolves for the better. But if it goes at a bad pace, like it might be trying to go, if they try to fuck things up.
That's the part that is strange to me too, is that, we can look back at things like fucking All in the Family. Yeah. We can look at Archie Bunker.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole, one of the big points of that show was to point out how horribly fucking wrong and stupid Archie Bunker was for thinking and believing a lot of the things that he did, right? I mean, you had Rob Reiner in there as fucking Meathead.
Yeah.
Who would point out all of the horrible things that Archie Bunker believed and said and thought and did. Mm-hmm. And not just that they were bad, but why they were bad.
And they were.
And a lot of those things have changed. But you still have religious people, not just specifically religious people, but a lot of people who point to that and go, oh, no, the 50s and 60s were fucking great. We need to go back to that. We need to go back to, treating blacks as lesser people and women as lesser people.
The heydays of the KKK.
Exactly, And they think those were the glory days, and we should somehow return to those, or those were the days of perfection that we need to try to attain again, and that's fucking wrong and sick and disgusting.
Yeah. Well, they're all rich, white Christian men.
Yeah.
That are saying that.
Yeah, who have nothing to lose but privilege.
Yep.
Although I do still think the 1940s World War II era was one of the best generations around.
The 40s were pretty good.
Just for the fact that people were able to band together for a common cause and actually work and sacrifice and
the 40s
give
were
things
good
up.
for some people.
Yeah,
They were still really fucking
like
terrible
now better.
for
I don't
people
like,
who weren't white, who weren't male.
True.
I think right now
I guess
still,
that age. Well, because we look at that age because of the sacrifices people were willing to make.
yeah.
Right now, you can't get a kid to get off his fucking Nintendo DS while walking through a fucking grocery store.
Yeah.
Back then, you had kids fucking going down to the local scrapyard so they could hand in a bicycle to be scrapped to be made into an aircraft or
True,
a tank.
but I mean, if you were to go back and if you were to go back
white
and
kids,
yeah, exactly. I was going to say, if you were to go back and interview or talk to the people who made these great and wonderful sacrifices, and ask them what they thought about blacks or interracial marriage or women being able to vote or any of that, they would be fucking horrible fucking people.
yeah.
I guess I just say for the
think
sacrifices
right now,
people were willing to make at that time.
But even today, I'm still waiting for this verdict to come down on the Ferguson case. Because all that bullshit
Tomorrow.
Yeah, Darren
Was it
Wilson.
tomorrow or Friday? Was it Thursday or Friday? Because I know it's this week.
I don't know.
I know tomorrow night, Thursday, or tonight if you're listening to this tomorrow, or yesterday if you listen to it on Friday,
or tonight if you listen to it tomorrow.
yeah, because this is Wednesday right now. I'm waiting for the Republican Party to just blast the president on his live speech he's going to be giving Thursday night on his plans for immigration reform.
Yep.
Just like everything else he ever talks about.
Yeah.
It's going to be a doozy.
They'll shit themselves and say the world is coming to an end and he's awful and he's a dictator and needs to be impeached and
but when
for doing the same fucking thing that
Reagan and Bush
did,
both
that
fucking
Bush Senior did.
Bush Senior.
Yeah, but way better.
Well, Obama, way better. Yes.
Yeah. But way better than those guys did.
But those two presidents both use executive orders to give amnesty to illegal immigrants, which is the same thing that I'm thinking President Obama will be doing or announcing tomorrow night because our fucking Senate and House cannot get off their fucking ass and do anything.
Oh, they can.
I mean,
they can, but they won't.
No, they can get off their ass and do stuff if it's opposing Barack Obama's.
Oh yeah,
it makes me so fucking mad when I hear Republicans talk about, oh, well, we can't have all these immigrants come in here. The founding fathers, blah blah. The founding fathers were fucking immigrants.
Yeah, I know.
Motherfucker.
This country is founded on the backs of immigrants. Immigrants built our highways.
Fucking country.
Immigrants built our railroads.
Under duress.
Well, but they were still immigrants.
Oh, I'm not even going to touch
It
that
wasn't.
one.
Yeah, they.
But
we
immigrants
fucked them over, but they came here and did it anyways.
But I mean, setting aside, the Chinese building the fucking railroads, immigrants are what made this country great.
Yeah. Well, and look,
and does it not say on Ellis Island, give us your weak, give us your tired, give us your weary?
Give me your tired, your huddled masses, your need to breathe free.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it earlier. My ancestors came here in 1617, right? That's about as early as you're going to find.
Yeah. Mine didn't come here till the early 1900s.
Yeah, that's about as early as you're going to find for white Americans. That's thousands of years too late, right? For Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I can say none of them were slaveholders. A lot of them fought in the Civil War to free the slaves.
Yeah. Well, you're from the North.
Yeah. For the Union, yeah. But what a disgrace that.
Which
and then to have all these Johnny-come-latelys, showing up that have positions of power and telling us how our ancestors wanted this country to be, and I sit there and just my blood boils because I'm like, there's plenty of my ancestors that fucking went off unmarried, no kids, in school to be a doctor, went off to the Civil War and fought and died to free the slaves because that was the right thing to do.
And honestly,
then I've got all these fucking Canadians whose parents are born in Cuba telling me exactly what my ancestors believed. No, fuck you.
Canadian parents from who are you talking about?
And how many of the founding fathers would, if they were to travel through time and arrive here in the United States in 2014,
they wouldn't
how many of them
recognize
would be shocked and appalled at a lot of the bullshit that's going on?
That's why when I hear...
I think Republicans would say the same thing.
Well, they do say the same thing. They say Thomas Jefferson be rolling over his grave. Washington be rolling over his grave right now.
But for all the wrong reasons.
Yes. And I love how they always cite with the I can't remember the name of the painting, but it's the painting where he's standing there in the snow, kneeling, horse in the background,
Valley Forge in the snow praying.
Yeah,
yeah, which is bullshit. That never fucking happened.
It never happened. It was an artist's interpretation.
Yeah, that painting was actually hanging in this house that I bought. Was hanging on the wall right around the corner here in the downstairs family room area. The prior occupants had a giant one of those fucking hanging on the wall, like 6 feet wide, 3 feet high.
Yeah.
Mixed in among the pictures of the temple and white Jesus and
white Jesus. We need to do a whole show on white Jesus. I mean,
we should.
White Jesus.
We should have done that last week.
We should do it for a Christmas episode.
Well, I won't be here for that one.
So next week we won't be doing a show because it's the day before Thanksgiving, and I'm hosting Thanksgiving for the big family get together here, so we won't be able to do it. But then you, Ryan, are taking off.
I will be gone December 16th, which is a Tuesday. I'm leaving.
Okay. So we'll miss.
I'll
next
be here
week
the first 2 weeks of December. I'll be here.
Okay.
And I'll be gone the rest of December.
Okay.
And back in January.
So next week we'll be missing a show, or we won't be doing a show next week. We can do the following 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
Before you take off.
Before I take off, yes.
And then Matt and I will have to decide if we want to do a couple shows in your absence and miss you and talk fondly about your tattoos and how handsome you are.
If you haven't seen me, I guess I'm a stud.
Ryan's kind of a looker.
And who will I have to argue against and be wrong every night then?
You can call me and I can just go, Matt. Yeah, I'm in Wisconsin right now, and you're wrong. Later.
We could hook it up. Talk to you on the phone. That'd be good.
Yeah, but I was right on Kalam.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's no argument there.
Yeah.
Right on Kalam, and that William Lane Craig is a disingenuous, vacillating prick.
Cockfuck.
Now, all of a sudden, you guys are hardline now. Interesting.
I don't know if it's hardline or just...
I'm just kidding.
Well, and I wouldn't even necessarily say he's a prick.
But,
I mean, he seems like a decent guy.
He's doing
they do the afterwards.
This is all social norms. He doesn't know. Like he's been educated in German.
He doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
But the one thing that is about him is he makes a lot of fucking money being that guy. So even if he didn't believe anymore, if he's kind of like, well, I don't know if I believe my bullshit, but wait. I make a lot of fucking money going on tours spouting. I think he does too.
I think he genuinely believes the bullshit.
Yeah, but he goes on a lot of tours and books and everything else and paid for people to come have him talk about that bullshit.
The other thing that I wanted to mention real quickly about the Kalam argument is that even if you were to accept all of his premises, all of his conclusions, and say that a God exists, that's still another huge, monumental fucking leap to say that God is the Christian God.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, it doesn't get you to any specific God at all.
Yeah,
no.
Even if you accept 4, which was thoroughly decimated.
Yeah, yeah. I don't.
It's always asserting the God you believe in when you say God.
And I noticed too that even in the debate with Hitchens, where I felt that he didn't perform very well, he tried to. There were a couple instances where he tried to bring it back and say, even if we were to accept what Professor Craig says or Dr. Craig says and accept that there is a God, you still have everything left ahead of you to prove that God is the Christian God.
Yeah.
And here's why. And he tried to bring in a bunch of other things that then, Craig got up and said, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah. Right.
I would rather believe on the back of a giant sea turtle traveling through the universe because that would just be badass.
I think that was Hitchens' probably his best point in that argument.
Yeah.
Where he was like, even if you accept
that God,
the Immaculate Conception and the Virgin Birth and all that, it still doesn't get you to a Son of God. You still have a lot of work to do to prove that that's a Son of God, that he saved the all that stuff. That there's no way to connect this argument to Christianity at all.
Right. When the more plausible reasoning would be she was just a slut.
Yeah, exactly. And she was scared of the repercussions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
Or was raped. I mean, even back then. I mean, even today, if you're raped in Saudi Arabia as a woman, you being raped means that you should
It's your
be
fault.
buried chest deep and have rocks thrown at you
Yeah.
until you're fucking dead.
Yeah, and
'Cause
I'll
you
tell you
fuck
what,
up.
that's a horrific scene.
Yeah.
God, that's bad.
Yeah.
Don't Google that.
It's out there.
Yeah, I know. I did it once.
Yeah.
That's bad.
It's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Do look up GodlessRebelution at gmail.com.
Or just email us at GodlessRebelution@gmail.com.
Or visit us on Facebook by searching for the Godless Rebelution.
Yeah, which will be much more active in the coming weeks.
Yes.
And so, it's Rebelution.
With a B. Like we're rebels.
Ocean.
Ocean.
Not revolution. Rebelution.
Correct. Bravo.
Yes. Some people have mixed it up, and I've had people looking for it on internets, and they say, well, I typed in revolution. I'm like, no, it's
Rebel with a B.
rebel with a B. Yep. So there you go.
All right.
Type that into that little thing you got on your computer or your phone where it says email. Type something smart, witty, fun into that email. Then hit that little paper plane looking thing or whatever you got on yours to send. And we'll get it and we'll read it. Hopefully. Maybe. Yes, we will.
If it's good.
We will read your comments and or questions and answer them the best that we can.
Or just go to the Godless Rebelution on the Facebook.
Yes.
Right there.
Right in front of you.
Right. I mean, I guarantee you spend most of your day on it anyways.
You have it open right now.
Right
Don't lie.
now. I know. So just write something on there. Just say hi. And we'll say hi back. We'll give you a good old hellos.
A good old hellos.
Brian will. I might. I might not.
All right, we'll make sure you get a hello.
Yes. So is that about wrap it up for this evening?
I think that's about wrapping it up.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you very much for tuning in and listening to us, everybody. We
Yeah.
look forward to hearing more from you in the coming days and weeks and months and years and decades. And
Holy sh! How long we living for?
well, me not a whole lot longer if I don't start getting up my fucking fat ass and doing something.
Well, all right. Until next time, this is the Godless Rebelution, and thank you for listening.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.